he acted under the prior agreement with other accused persons. Joining at that time, Your Worship, she was aware of what was done by the other accused. So he was in the prior agreement. That's what we'll be alleging.
In the capital, the father of a slain KwaZulu-Natal tow truck operator has told the Madlanga Commission his son was never involved in the drug trade despite some of his friends' involvement in the narcotics business. The commission is hearing testimony from Gregory Loftus, whose son, Bevan Loftus, was killed in 2023 by police. Loftus's killing was described as a legitimate police operation. However, his father believes tow truck owner and alleged drug dealer Clive Nyker paid 2.5 million rand to a police commander for officers to kill him. Alpha Ramushana has more.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard that some tow truck businesses in KZN are used as a front for criminal activities. The Commission has heard allegations that some tow trucks are used to transport drugs across the province. Gregory Loftus, whose son Bevan owned a towing business, insists he was not involved in selling drugs. However, he admits his son associated with people in the drug business.
Bevan had friends and business associates that were allegedly involved in gangs and other criminal activities. The tow truck industry also saw a lot of violent crime. Gang violence involving the tow truck industry started in Wentworth during 2020. Bevan, his friends and his drivers started being shot at by the members of a drug gang called the Cartel.
The Commission is investigating allegations that KZN police are being used by criminals to target and kill certain individuals under the guise of legitimate police operations. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
The Democratic Alliance says it will be laying criminal charges against the municipal managers of the 10 worst performing municipalities in the country. The party says it selected the municipalities, which are mostly in the Free State, on the basis of the Auditor General's report on local government. The municipalities listed by the DA include Maludiapofung and Masilonyana municipalities in the Free State, as well as Ditsobotla municipality in the Northwest and Makana in the Eastern Cape. Babalo Ndenza reports.
The DA says it will lay criminal charges against the 10 municipal managers from 9 municipalities over their repeated failures in financial management and accountability. DA Chief Whip George Mikalakis listed the profiles of some of the worst performing municipal managers.
Maludiapofung local municipality, Kwakwa in the Free State, Advocate Mofokeng, the record wrecker, and Dr. Motamaha, the paper trail failure.
He says the officials will be forced to account.
It is time that these 10 individuals are no longer recycled by the ANC, but are forced to account by our criminal justice system.
The DA says it will pursue the charges under Section 173 of the Municipal Finance Management Act, which provides for offences relating to gross negligence and material accounting irregularities. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
In the courts, the state maintains its trial ready for 2 high-profile cases being heard at the Durban High Court today. 7 suspects linked to the murder of rapper Keenan aka Forbes and his friend Tebello Tibbs Motswane appeared in court for finalization of pre-trial matters. The trial has been set down for 2 phases from the 5th of October to the 6th of November, barring Election Day, and from the 12th of April to the 14th of May next year. State Prosecutor Advocate Lawrence Kaba.
Only outstanding issue was the disclosure of the outstanding statements. We may then, my lady, confirm that the matter is trial ready to kick off on the 5th.
Meanwhile, former Umkhonto weSizwe Party member Duduzile Zuma Sambudla made a brief appearance at the same court in a separate matter. The former president's daughter is accused of inciting terrorism and public violence via her social media posts during the July 2021 unrest in the aftermath of President Jacob Zuma's incarceration. Her case was postponed for a holding trial date next month. NPA spokesperson Natasha Ramkinson-Kara.
During the pre-trial conference today, the matter was adjourned for further trial dates. Those trial dates are the 26th of October till early November.
And in Greece, authorities in Athens have stepped up fumigation as the country's state health administration reported an increase in West Nile virus infections. The infections have claimed 9 lives so far, with a further 45 new cases of the mosquito-borne virus recorded over the past week. The number of total infections now sits at 110 from the beginning of the year. Out of these, 81 developed severe complications to the central nervous system, and 9 persons over the age of 65 died. The virus can cause symptoms similar to those of flu, but in extreme cases, it can result in tremors, fever, comas, and a lethal swelling of the brain tissue. It can also cause meningitis. Gold's trading at $4,393.95 an ounce. The rand's at 16.12 to the dollar, at 21.77 to the pound, at 18.61 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $87.35 a barrel.
In Midrand, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 North before New Road causing delays. And in Edenville, there's an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange slowing down traffic.
In your sport, no margin for error as Banyana take on Nigeria in a World Cup playoff. Luke Bartman impresses as Kaizer Chiefs return to the summit of the Betway Premiership. And Steve Smith safe by technology, but it's Bangladesh who come out top on day one of their opening test.
A look at your weather. It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng. Today, temperatures are peaking at highs between 14 and 18 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: the state in the case against Julius Mkhwanazi and 5 co-accused says the suspended EMPD deputy chief will face a murder charge for his alleged role in the robbery and torture of businessman Emmanuel Mbense.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon to you. It's 9 minutes past 3 on Thursday, the 13th of August. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Welcome to the show. Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has been highlighting the fact that diabetes has overtaken TB as the leading natural cause of death in South Africa. How and why has this happened? Can we reverse this? After 5, we'll hear the thoughts of Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana, Chief Scientific Officer at the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation. The National Home Builders Registration Council has money, millions, hundreds of millions, to compensate people who have bought houses with defects and can't get redress from the people who built those houses. But the NHBRC has hardly ever paid anyone out. What's up with that? Kieran Ryan from MoneyWeb joins us at 10 to 5. Before then, out of interest, anyone listening who's actually applied to the council, how did you get on? Ever thought of becoming a space cadet? Maybe a rocket scientist?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The South African National Space Agency is very keen to get young people interested in its work with a view to possible careers working in the field of space and the search for understanding it better. More on that at 10 to 4. Back on Earth, there's been a sharp spike in political killings this year. What's the pattern? Crime analyst Julian Rademeyer has some thoughts and joins us at 10 past 4. Staying on the darkest side of our country, the latest from the Madlanga Commission after 4, where murder has very much been front and center in the conversation. Alpha Ramoshwana will be joining us a little later in the show as well, depending on who's speaking and what they might have said. And we'll do music as we always do on the show, every Monday to Thursday, that is. When we hear a great song, it's easy to assume that song is fabulous. It's the best song I've heard in ages. It must have been a #1 hit. In fact, some hugely popular songs never made it to the summit. Try this one.
And I feel that love is dead. I'm loving angels instead. And through it, oh, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong, and down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me. When I come to call, she won't forsake me.
Yeah, the sound of Robbie Williams with Angel. So is there a song that you love that if you did a little bit of research, you might find, I'm talking about in major markets, the UK, the United States, you can always look up how songs did in South Africa, but a song that never made it to number one. I'll tell you right now, to give you a clue, if you're a Bruce Springsteen fan, you have limitless choice, because the boss, despite all his musical achievements, and they could fill a room, is in the strange position of never, ever, ever having had a number one single in the USA. Not even born in the USA. So give us your thoughts on that. Send them to us, 072 702 1702. Not the only measure, of course, of the greatness of a song, but still interesting. Great songs that never made it to number one. On the markets, the JSE is down today. It's lost 880 points so far. The main reason for that, a sharp fall in the resource index, which has really been pushing things upwards over the last couple of days. Resources down by 3%. You can see that in the performance of individual stocks like Pan-African Resources having a decent run earlier in the week, down by 5.3. Valterra and Northam, both prominent platinum stocks, down by 4.2. On the upside, Grindrod has gained 8.2%. Foschini is up 6%, and Truworths has gained 5.4%. I mentioned problems with resources. The gold price is down by $13.17 a fine ounce. Platinum has lost $17.90. And even though the price of Brent crude is down today, a loss of 98 cents in the price of a barrel, it's still way too high for comfort, $87.06. The JSE and all the other stories coming out of the markets with Stephen Curtis. He'll be with us at about 4:25. Tolokele Mganga has a look at the sport. Huge game tonight for Banyana. Banyana beat Nigeria, and they're on their way, well on their way to the next Women's World Cup. Tolokele with us at about 4:20 with those updates. In a moment, Lisejo Singo has the traffic news, and you heard Maki Molapo a moment ago at 3:30. She's back with the very latest news headlines. This is 702 Drive. We are live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you'll get to hear about it here first. But if you know about stuff that we don't know about it, if you've heard details of a particular story that we might be missing and that you can help us fill in, get in touch, please, on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. It's 14 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So
John Perlman.
So here's the thing. Today's International Left-Handers Day. Simple question. Are you left-handed? And if you are, do you think it made you special in any way? Now, we've spoken about this a number of years ago, and I do recall people calling in and saying, actually, and this goes way back, I think, in the South African education system, unless it's still happening, they were told, you can't write with your left hand, learn to write with your right hand, which for some people I think was both turbulent, undermining of, your efforts to get through school, which is difficult enough. And some people seem to find it actually a little bit traumatic, like you were being corrected and told that something you did instinctively was actually wrong. Some people might, of course, say, that's welcome to life, because that wouldn't have been the first or the last time that happened. But are you left-handed? Give us a call on that and tell us about life as a left-hander. Just for the team, put your hands up if you're left-handed.
No, right-handed.
No left hands, no right hands. So we've got a room full of right-handers. But there must be some out there. Did you ever wish you were left-handed?
No, never wished I was left-handed, John. But who I do think is special is the people who are ambidextrous.
Yes.
So they can do with both hands and feet.
Yes.
I mean, like growing up, when you did come across somebody who was left-handed, and in particular on the sports field, so you would watch somebody bowl left-handed or bat left-handed and not so much kick a soccer ball left-handed, but it always looked, and especially golf, a left-handed golfer, looks very elegant.
And they say that about cricket batsmen, that left-handed batsmen are particularly elegant, especially when they're playing off the front foot and especially when they're playing shots on the offside, like cover drives and and straight drives. I remember when I was playing cricket at, say, the age of 10 or whatever, trying to get people to field in the right position was difficult enough. Like the coach would be going, no, mid on, and people would be scratching their heads. But when a new batter came in who was left-handed, it was complete chaos. Because somebody would move, and then you'd say, hang on a bit, I'm really close to the guy, and that's his hook shot. I think I might be wrong. I need to move. So left-handers, let us know. Lisejo, do you know anyone who's left-handed?
Definitely not me, but I have somebody special closest to me who is left-handed.
Okay.
And she was always intelligent at school, also university.
Very smart,
Yes, my little sister. So I used to think it as so this peculiar type of skill that she has. I didn't know that she possessed such skill. I saw this other day when she was writing her homework and I had to intervene and help. She was writing with her left hand and oh boy, she's so skilled. STEM subjects, mathematics, life science, physics, top tier.
Okay, brilliant. So are left-handers smarter?
Good afternoon, John. It's the rest of the 702 family. I'll be very honest. My dream as a teenager, so I wanted to be left-handed. I wanted to wear glasses and have braces. For me, that was the ultimate nerd package. 'Cause I'm still a nerd, so I wanted that.
Okay.
And I tried for some time to learn how to use both hands. I failed.
Yeah.
Like I tried, but I think you need to sort of practice over and over. And then I just went back to my right hand. I'm still a nerd.
Okay.
A little cooler than I thought I would be, but I am.
No glasses as yet. As
Or
you
braces.
would, no braces, no glasses. As you would know if you follow us, by the way, on YouTube. Go to YouTube. Go to the YouTube page or whatever you call it. Go to YouTube. Type in 702 Drive John Perlman Live, and you can see what we're doing in the studio. You can see what we're all wearing, see what we all look like if you've never been there before. And we do like the idea, by the way, of knowing that we're not just in touch with you on audio, but some of you are getting a visual sense of 702 Drive as well. And a little bit later, we'll have a little surprise for you, but I'll alert you to that. So if you haven't logged on to YouTube, you actually can to see what it is we have to show you. 19 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
On 702, let's walk the talk.
Okay, we do drive on the left, whichever hand we use. Please try and stay on that side of the road. It's always a better idea. What's happening in the traffic? Lisejo, good afternoon.
Well, John, I speak on the right. In Midrand, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 North before New Road causing traffic. In Edenvale, there's an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic. In Bedfordview, there are delays on the N3 North between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange due to roadworks. Traffic lights are out in Senton at Catherine and Grayston Drive, pointsmen on duty. In Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive. In North Riding at the N1 South and Malibonga Drive, pointsmen on duty in those particular areas. If you have any other traffic updates, head over to X at EWN Traffic.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
Is there sufficient budget to be securing these military bases?
Budget is a crisis because at the Department of Defense, we are underfunded and we are expected to protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country from any attack, both external and internal. And we have seen now recently in the world, security and peace is not permanent. We don't know when an attack will come to our country, and we need to be combat ready.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Amy Jeffter's satirical play A Good House comes to the Market Theatre. Set in a middle-class gated community somewhere in Joburg, a shack appears on a vacant plot. Watch as the neighborhood's only black couple navigate the true cost of fitting in, while their white neighbors reveal their own assumptions about the shack's unseen occupants. Don't miss this biting new South African comedy at the Market Theatre this August. Book now at markettheatre.co.za.
This advert is paid for by the political party concerned.
I love my hometown, but for too long now, I look around and think we deserve better than this. The water goes off for days, the streets are falling apart, and things never get fixed. Look, I'm not asking for anything fancy. I just want basics to work. And I know they can work because I've seen it where the Democratic Alliance is in charge. I want our town to work for all. So in this election, I'm voting DA.
This advert was paid for by the political party concerned.
Looking to save money on your business insurance? Switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Here's Niku from the Gas Mart.
I was my previous insurer for 9 years before switching to OUTsurance Business Insurance. I'm very happy with my premiums at the moment. I wish we switched sooner to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
Get a quote to switch and save today. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 0600 60,000. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
So my name is Nikki and I'm left-handed. Apparently only 10% of the population is left-handed and it's definitely a right-hand world. So if I turn a key, I always somehow manage to turn it backwards. The scissors never work. When you're writing in a book that's got, a left and a right side, if you're left-handed, you can never get your hand quite close enough to start at the beginning of the page. But having said that, I'm ambidextrous, so much better than just being a right-handed person. Because the world is so right-handed, I think a lot of left-handed people have had to become ambidextrous. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Mr. Brajon. It's quite interesting about left-handed people. Apparently, the world's population, if I'm not mistaken, about 92% of the world's population is right-handed, and the rest, obviously, the 8% is left-handed. So apparently, those are very, very special people. It's either they're very good at something or very bad at something. So the likes of Barack Obama and Osama bin Laden and the likes of, they too are left-handed. So it's something quite interesting.
Afternoon, John and team. Fact. I don't know if it's a fun fact or not. Rafael Nadal, tennis legend, right-handed, writes with his right hand, signed cameras with his right hand, did everything with his right hand, but played tennis with his left hand. Because his uncle Tony believed that lefties have a real advantage in tennis, which they do. They have the swinging serve out wide. So they do have definitely an advantage. So I thought I'd share that. Zunaid from Pretoria.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really interesting. Great left-handed tennis players amongst them, as you mentioned, Rafael Nadal, Martina Navratilova would probably be the leading figure in women's tennis. Amongst the men, again, John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, and currently there's Ben Shelton, who some people enjoy watching, perhaps not being as successful as some people predicted he would be. But great, great tennis players. Left-handed batsman in cricket. Maybe you want to share a view on that. Give us a call on 011 883 0702. Let's focus our attention, though, on some dramatic developments in this particular court case.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, we're focusing our attention now on the murder trial, this involving the killing and the attempt to dispose of the body of the murder victim. Emmanuel Mbense is the person who was killed, and a number of people are standing in the dock, or were standing in the dock already. In this regard, most prominent amongst them, suspended Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department Deputy Chief Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi. Another person has been arrested and added to the 5 already on trial. Let's get details then. Dimakatso Lishoro, EWN reporter, is covering this. Dimakatso, very good afternoon to you. Tell us about the 6th person.
Hi, John. So what we know about the 6th person is that she is a former SAPS flying squad member.
Okay, we're going to call her back. This is not a good line. Not a good line at all, but you could hear that for yourself. I'm sure we can fix it. Perry sends us this. He says, I write with my right hand, and in cricket I bat with my left hand. My left hand holds the spade at the bottom. Everyone around me says I should have been left-handed. However, in the other news, my younger sister is purely left-handed. A nerd of note, I must say. She just landed a role in the European Central Bank in Luxembourg, and she endorsed as a highly skilled worker on her visa. I'm talking about my sister, Kathy. Interesting. Mindless says, my wife and I are both right-handed, but our sons are left-handed. Is there a scientific explanation for this? Anyone out there who studies genetics and patterns and things passed down from parents to children? Anything genetic in whether people are left or right-handed? The younger of my two sisters, I think, is left-handed. My dad was, but I've no idea if there's anything in that. Somebody else may well know. Dimakatso is back. Dimakatso, why not start from the beginning? I mentioned a sixth person now standing in the dock. Tell us who they are. Over to you. Good afternoon again.
Hi, John. Sorry about that. So what we do know about the lady who's the sixth accused. Her name is Yuan Marie Exkin. We know that.
Yeah. Well, generally, when we take something on, a call on for the second time, we almost always get a better line. But today we're a little bit jinxed. Dima Council, by the way, is out at the court. There's plenty going on there. So we'll certainly clock in with her a little bit later. And I'm sure she'll be providing us with updates throughout the news.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon, John. Yes, I'm a southpaw writing, but I'm ambidextrous. But later on I found out because my left eye is not good sight. So yes, it was interesting, the school try to force you to write on the right hand. But I'm all right now.
Hi. I was born left-handed, and my mother had a certain belief about it, and she used to fight me all the time to make sure that I use my right hand. And she finally succeeded at making me right-handed. But it turned out that in a family of 10 kids, at least the other two, she couldn't transform them into being right-handed, because even my brother that comes after me was born left-handed, but she could not turn him around. He's the last born. I think she just gave up on that, but she had the energy to turn me into a right-handed person. So
hi, Uncle John. I am left-handed and I am a soccer player, and I do kick with my left foot. The only frustration with being a left-handed person is that when I write with pen, usually like in my exams, my hand smudges across the paper. So I usually leave the exam with like an ink smudge on my hand and on the paper. And another frustration is scissors. But I kind of have taught myself how to use right-handed scissors, but I prefer left-handed scissors. And I also can use my right hand. It's not that hard for me to use it when I'm writing. Thank you. Bye.
Very, very interesting. I had never thought of that, because we go left to right, we read left to right, we write left to right. And a left-hander, that thing of smudging, I would never have given it any thought. The first message we heard there, by the way, referred to himself as a southpaw, and that's a term always associated with boxing. That's the fighter who leads with the wrong hand, actually lead with the right, and keep their left hand available for delivering some of those decisive blows. So, greatest southpaws, I've just been looking up there, and there are some great names here, but maybe you want to disagree or add. Pernell Whitaker, who was a real star of the 1990s, Sweet Pea, he was known as. Manny Pacquiao, much more recent career. And then one of the greats, marvelous Marvin Hagler, dominant middleweight, and he had a career that spanned all the way through the 70s and into the 80s. So, left-handed boxers, southpaws, to use the proper term. Give us a call if you want to add to that list that I've just given you. I've just given you 3. 702 Drive, it's 3:30. Right, let's get the latest from Maki Molapo. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The MK party says the Constitutional Court order related to the impeachment of President Cyril Ramaphosa reinforces public sentiment about a system that appears reluctant to hold those in authority accountable. Yesterday, the country's highest court denied opposition parties led by the ATM leave to appeal a High Court interdict that has halted public hearings of the Section 89 inquiry for now. The inquiry is set to test whether Ramaphosa misconducted himself in relation to the US dollars stored and stolen from his farm, Parapara, in 2020. The EFF says it's concerned the judiciary is weakening Parliament's oversight responsibilities. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Following yesterday's court order, the MKP says while it respects the authority of the courts, judicial independence must not only exist in law, but it must be seen and experienced by the public as impartial, consistent and free from fear or favour. The Constitutional Court says it does not believe it to be in the public interest to hear the party's appeal at this stage, given that the interdict will be rendered moot once the Western Cape High Court has reviewed the report that has given rise to the inquiry in a hearing set down for next month. But the MK party says accountability cannot be deferred indefinitely, and President Ramaphosa must be held to account. The EFF, meanwhile, says there are no guarantees that a judgment in the review application will be delivered speedily. The party says it's pointless for the impeachment committee to continue with its administrative work if it's been blocked from proceeding with its investigative mandate. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
In the courts, the high-profile trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Mojak and 14 others has been delayed today due to one of the accused being ill. Mojak and his co-accused face numerous charges related to allegedly operating a criminal enterprise. The cross-examination of accused number 4, Tawfiq Brown, came to a halt yesterday after accused number 5, Riyad Kasant, told the court he wasn't feeling well. Carlo Peterson has more.
Presiding Judge Robert Henney has subpoenaed a clinical nurse working at Paulsmoor Prison to appear before the court today. Henney wants the nurse to provide clarity on whether accused number 5, Riyad Kasant, is fit to attend trial. Proceedings adjourned early yesterday after Kasant told the court he wasn't feeling well. However, when the matter resumed today, Kasant relayed he was still ill, despite being issued with a note from the nurse saying he was fit to attend proceedings.
I want to know if you need the proper clinical guidance, must set it out in the document. If not, she does not want to deliver the subpoena.
Henney later issued a subpoena for the nurse to appear in court today. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
And Air India pilots will have to undergo mandatory drug screening starting today after a captain involved in a serious mid-air incident reportedly tested positive for marijuana. Existing rules require airlines to randomly test at least 10% of their flight crew for psychoactive substances each year. Last week, Tuesday, at least 24 passengers were injured when an Airbus A320 lost about 91 meters of altitude shortly after departing from Thailand for India. Local media reports say the main pilot had smoked marijuana and had tested positive in a second test. Air India said the results have not been shared with them. Look at your weather. A cloudy day in Gauteng today. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 14 and 18 degrees.
In Sandton, there's an accident between Catherine Street and the M1 slowing down traffic. And in Braamfontein, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 North before New Road causing delays.
The top story in Eyewitness News, the MK party says the Constitutional Court order related to the impeachment of President Cyril Ramaphosa reinforces public sentiment about a system that appears reluctant to hold those in authority accountable.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Do's and don'ts in the cinema. If you want to upset me, if you want that tap on your shoulder, keep playing with your cell phone.
Morning, Bongani. Yeah, I was in out to the cinema. It was crazy busy with this new Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I just can't remember which cinema I went to. They go to signal jammers where they block they kill the phone signal. So obviously you can't use the phone or speak on it or chat or type.
That's a good idea. Hey, signal jammers at the cinema.
No,
Why do you
I'm
need
sorry.
signal at the cinema?
Oh, what? That emergency call when it comes in
For
and
what?
you are there. No, Bongani. We will not just, you know what?
Are you
Don't
a first
use your...
responder? Are you an emergency?
Yes, I am. To my children and my husband, I am.
Morning, Bongani. This is Medisi here. I think cell phone jammers at movie house, that's a big no, guys. No, guys. We're not in Russia.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis presents the School of AI, the first of its kind in Africa, powered by 100 world-class AI experts delivering cutting-edge training, consulting and real-world AI solutions. Regenesis has embedded compulsory AI modules across all their programs and 12 of their schools, from business and law to education and technology. Join the movement now. Enroll at regenesis.net. Regenesis, one institution leading the way.
That's Kefense, before she got naked. Kefense's premium went up twice last year, and she was more confused than when her ex said, "I need to find myself," and then found somebody else. So Kefense got naked. She got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Good for you, Kefense. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
Durban is ready. Southern Africa is coming together. This August, South Africa proudly hosts the 46th SADC Summit in Durban, bringing together leaders united by a shared vision of regional cooperation, industrialization, economic integration, and sustainable development. When we work as one, trade flourishes, investment grows, jobs are created, and families enjoy opportunities. The 46th SADC Summit, one region, one people, one vision, shared prosperity.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, 702. I am right-handed because I was trained at school to be right-handed, and I'm actually ambidextrous. I can write and work, and I do a lot of things with both hands. And but because they trained me from a young age to be right-hand dominant, I found that I do a lot of things with my left hand, and then I realized that I can actually quite easily train myself to do things with my left hand. So yeah, I don't know if I get to be part of the day, or can I get half a day?
It's a left-hander. God made a few people perfect, the rest you made right-handed.
Oh, well, I guess that's one way of looking at it. So we've got left-handed boxers, southpaws, boxers that lead with their right. We've got left-handed tennis players, still looking for the left-handed batsmen. There are lists out there, and they're fabulous ones. Quite a few South Africans in it. Graham Pollock, absolutely masterly. Graham Smith, batsman of a very different kind, but incredibly effective. And then there are others as well. Gary Sobers, which AI comes up with his name as Garmin Sobers. So, yeah, not quite correct, although AI seems to be getting better at this stuff, a bit behind on cricket. Most of the lists seem to put Brian Lara at the top, but you may have some other views. And then there is Sourav Ganguly of India and Kumar Sangakkara of Sri Lanka as well. All of that talk about batting. Let's talk sport.
EWN Sport.
So, Tolakele, a huge night for Banyana. You can explain to us why they're still in the running for the World Cup and what they've got to do tonight. Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John. Well, South Africa face Nigeria tonight at WAFCON, where both sides have one last chance to try and qualify for the 2027 World Cup. The winner of this game will advance to the preliminary round of the Interconfederation playoffs, which feature 6 teams. And with so much on the line, Gabriela Salgado Modali says there's no room for error.
Yeah, it's a very tough game. We're going into facing the Super Falcons. It's never an easy game playing against them. Very physical. It's going to be a tough game for us to be on top of. It's a lot at stake. Qualifying for the World Cup, this is the last option. We need to win. We need to make sure we secure a win. It's going to take a lot of mental strength, and we just need to believe in ourselves. We need the country to believe in us, and we'll give our very best on the day.
For Malawi, they continued their giant-killing run at WAFCON as they beat Algeria 3-1 to book a place in the final against Cameroon. The indomitable Lionesses upset host Morocco 3-1 on penalties after that match had ended goalless following extra time. Sunday's final will crown a new African champion, with previous editions having been won by either Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria or South Africa. Switching over to the Bidway Premiership, where Kaizer Chiefs are the log leaders following their 2-0 win over Sekhukhune United, while Orlando Pirates played out a 1-1 draw with AmaZulu. Luke Bartman scored the winner for one of the goals for the Glamour Boys as they made it back-to-back wins, and coach Fernando de Cruz admits he's been impressed with how he's adapted since he took charge.
It's a player with good technical qualities. It's also a player with a good explosivity in his game when he plays football. It's a young player, and for the moment he listens what the coach asks to him, and it's very important for him. The most important for young player is to listen what the coach wants about him, because sometimes young players, they think that they are experienced player, and for the moment Luke is very focused, he listened.
And Bangladesh reached stumps on 96-1 on day one of their first test against Australia to trail by 102 runs after Hassan Mahmood's career best figures of 6 for 55 had their hosts all out for 198. Mohamed Malhaq on 35 alongside Tanzir Hassan on 32 will resume the Tigers' innings in the morning, while Steve Smith was the only Australian to offer any resistance as he top scored with 71 after real-time Snicko saved him earlier in his innings.
I was lucky. Yeah, it seems that way, yeah. You got to take it sometime. Normally it's pretty good. Yeah, maybe I didn't nick it, I don't know. But I certainly felt something. If I'd been given out, I was going to walk off. But yeah, technology saved me today, I guess.
Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's get ourselves out onto the roads. Let's get you off the roads, and let's hear from Lisejo Single with the latest from the traffic.
Thanks, John. In Sandton, there's an accident on Greyston Drive, slowing down traffic between Weber Street and the M1. In Braamfontein, there's slow-moving traffic on the M1 between Albertina Sisulu Road and Empire Road. Bedford View, there's an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic. Also in Bedford View, there are delays happening on the N3 North between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange due to roadworks. Traffic lights are out in Sandton at Catherine and Greyston Drive, in Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive, in North Riding at the N1 South and Malibongwe Drive. Pointsmen on duty in those particular areas. And in Tshwane, the CBD Centurion, there's slow-moving traffic on the Old Johannesburg Road and Hendrik Verwoerd. Centurion, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South at the Braakfontein Road, causing traffic to back up. Use Samrand Avenue as an alternative route. And also traffic lights are out in Groenkloof at the Fountain Circle and Nelson Mandela. In the CBD as Sophie De Bruyn and Jeff Masamola, as well as at Hoshi Mampuru. Pointsmen in particular area. I'll have more update in 30 minutes.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 16 minutes to 4. Tola Kelly, we've been talking about left-handers. Today is International Left-Handers Day. Obviously, it's a factor and a feature in sports. There's a view that left-handed cricketers, batsmen are particularly elegant, especially when they're playing through on the offside. But first of all, are you left-handed?
No.
Okay.
That guy said we're not special because we're right-handed. So I'm
Yes.
one of the non-special people.
Yes, all of us. That's right. Goodness. I never realized my mediocrity was shared by so many millions, billions, dare I say, of people. It was a lovely comment, though, and it actually got me laughing. But is it an advantage in sport, do you think? I know I'm asking you to generalize, but, tennis, there have been great players who are left-handed, but there have been outstanding players who weren't.
I think it makes them stand out because I
Yes.
just think of Rafael Nadal. Like for all the right-handers, when he hit the ball, it just looked like it took so much effort, but it was also so easy to watch.
Yes.
And I also think of Robin van Persie. He had my favorite left foot.
Yes.
He called it his chocolate foot. So whenever he scored like a free kick or like a dazzling goal, I used to be like, oh, why can't the other players do that? And I'm like, they do it, girl. They're just using the other leg, but it doesn't
Yes.
look as nice.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. By the way, in baseball, they have very intricate substitutions, if that's the word, but they bring in certain players because the pitcher's left-handed, or they bring in a pitcher because the next lineup of batters coming to the plate are right-handers or left-handers. Either experts on baseball or Americans who follow the game closely without necessarily considering themselves experts, can you give me a short, coherent explanation of that? I mean, surely a good pitch is a good pitch and a bad one gets smacked over the wall. I don't know. But I do watch the game a fair bit, and the commentators will be talking about, there's some left-handers coming up, so they brought in this pitcher to deal with it. It sounds very detailed. It's something I'd like to understand better. So if you can help, please do give me a call on 011 883 0702. Still to come on 702 Drive, Julian Rademeyer is an expert analyst of many aspects of crime. He's an advisor to the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, but he's focused his attention of late on political killings in South Africa. And there are some particular patterns he seems to be picking up in this year, which, of course, is a local government election year. And I wonder if we'll ask him, but I get the sense we get more killings of political representatives or candidates during local government election years. He'll, of course, put me right if that's wrong. Madlanga Commission is underway. Alpha Ramushwana has been watching an extremely interesting day. He'll give you the details. I won't give you my thoughts on that. And then after 5, diabetes is now South Africa's biggest killer, overtaking tuberculosis, TB. Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana joins us from the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation for some insights into why this is happening and, crucially, why we're unable to actually stop it from becoming the scourge that it is. That's after 5 o'clock. 13 minutes to 4.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
So I'm very, very interested in this. The South African National Space Agency. And do you know South Africa's been involved in one way, shape or form in space for a long, long period of time. It's many, many decades now, but they are reaching out to younger people. They're doing it in two ways. The one is they're running a competition where young people in between grades 8 and 11 can design a mascot for the South African National Space Agency, and the prizes are good ones. The winner can win themselves some cash, 3,000 Rand, but crucially, the schools they go to can win some serious prizes, a mix of educational vouchers and cash for the winning school, where the brightest and smartest designer of the mascot comes from, can receive 60,000 Rand. So there's plenty to consider there. But I'm also very interested in what kind of careers this sector of South African space and research and economy, I think it's fair to say, offers. Let's welcome then to the show Tandile Vuntu, who is Science Engagement Manager at the South African National Space Agency. Mr. Vuntu, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. I'm interested to know what kind of people, when you do recruit young South Africans to come and work with you, what are you looking for? Are you looking for particular degrees, particular interests? Give us a sense. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So when we normally recruit or go to schools or universities, we normally look into physics, science, mathematics, geography, GIS, remote sensing, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, IT, software engineering. There's a lot of careers that we look into when we go to youngsters and also to the people.
So, I mean, roughly, would all the jobs be with the South African National Space Agency, or do you have partners in universities, perhaps partners in the tech space that are also looking for the kind of people you're looking for?
Yes, also the National Space Agency, as you know, it's a national entity of government, and there is a private sector that will also look into the same pool of people that we're also looking into as well. So the competition is there, and we try by all means also to offer bursaries, but our bursaries don't do mainly undergrads. We mainly focus on postgrad from your honors, masters, and also your PhD students and also your postdoc. So the pool is limited, especially when it comes to the space sector, because it's not only the entity, there's also the private sector that is involved, also wanting the people to come and work for them.
Do you find that in a way, people come into this sector in general, and perhaps the agency in particular, if you want to focus on that, with a set of specific skills, or do they come with generic qualities or broad qualities, let me rather call it that you then almost mold and shape towards the purposes that the agency's been set up to fulfill?
It's a bit of a mixture of the two that you just mentioned now. It depends obviously on the position. So some positions require specialists. Some positions require startup people that will start that are coming through the careers. So it will depend on the post that is available. Are we looking for a specialist or are we looking to nurture someone? So it depends on the position itself.
What a step backwards. What does the South African National Space Agency actually do? Because I'm talking about it as if everybody, including myself, has a fairly good idea, and then I realize, just thinking of myself, actually I don't. Give us a sense of the range of your work.
So we are a South African National Space Agency under the South African National Space Agency Act 36 of 2008. So we initially started working 15 years ago. So as you've mentioned, that South Africa hasn't been involved within the space sector for a while, but there was no formal National Space Agency in South Africa. So about when they enacted the Act in 2008, and then subsequently the Space Agency started in about 15 years ago on the 1st of April. So the mandate, obviously, to promote outer space and peaceful use of outer space within the South African people, and also to coordinate national space programs within the country as well. Yes.
And in terms of the work that goes on, I mean, when we talk about space, South Africa's involvement in space, is it mainly to do with satellites?
Not really. So we divide it in different directories. So we have about 4 directories where we have a division that is in the Western Cape in Hermanus called the SANSA Space Science, which is mainly the research hub of SANSA, where we also have focus on space weather and also magnetic technologies, where we also have our ground instrumentation. So we're not only dependent on satellites. We also have what we call Earth observation, where we have people that are mainly into remote sensing, GIS, geospatial, disaster management, where we try to help government with tools for decision making, better decision making. We also have something that you just said now, where we talk about space engineering, which is mainly on satellite applications. So those are the people that are then involved when it comes to satellites development, testing, building. And obviously, when a satellite is in space, you need to have someone that is going to talk with that satellite, get the data, control it, keep it in orbit. And then we have our side also called SANSA Space Operations, which is in Hartbeespoort. So those are the people who have the antennas to track and control the satellites that are in orbit as well. So it's about 4 directories, and our head office sits in Pretoria.
I actually visited Hartbeespoort in the early 1970s because I had a cousin who worked there. But I was very young, and I must admit, I didn't really know what was going on. I was expecting to see spaceships and astronauts and so on. Thank you so much. Thandile Vuntu is Science Engagement Manager at the South African National Space Agency. I'd be keen to know, by the way, any of you involved in either industries or tech sectors, or perhaps more directly with satellites in this sector. It's a sector I know very little about, so we took the opportunity of this pitch for people to design the mascot to bring Thandile Vuntu on and just find out a little bit more about the South African National Space Agency, but also a little bit more about possible careers in that space. Maybe it's something you've looked into. Maybe it's something that you actually followed. If you have, and you have a story to share, we'd like to hear it. Give us a ring on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702 524.
In the last 24 hours, what happened in your world?
A KwaZulu-Natal police officer was allegedly paid more than 2.5 million rand by a tow truck company owner. The Madlanga Commission has heard that the head of the KZN Police CIT task team, Dina Govender, received several suspicious cash payments between August of 2022 and December of 2023.
24 hours a day. Eyewitness news. In touch, in tune, and independent.
The world of business is changing. Are you ready to lead beyond borders? The Wits Kedge MBA in Global Executive Leadership connects African insight with European expertise. Designed for executives, senior managers, entrepreneurs, and public sector leaders, The 17-month blended program combines online learning with immersive in-person sessions in Johannesburg and Paris. Develop the strategic judgment, vision, and global perspective required to lead through complexity. Applications are now open. Visit wbs.ac.za to explore the Wits Kedge Global Executive Leadership MBA.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The President, Cyril Ramaphosa, launching the new electronic travel authorization system at OR Tambo.
Everything from a visa permit document or even just outright bribery is possible when you have a system that is discretionary and where an official is actually processing that application. So we are addressing both the economic side of the equation as well as the security side by rolling out this electronic travel authorization.
The Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. Africa's energy future takes more than ambition. It takes turning plans into projects, opportunity into investment, intent into execution. At Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, we help connect the capital, expertise, and opportunity needed to bring sustainable projects to life across Africa. That's how we're invested in Africa's energy future.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Uncle John. It's Mona Claire here. I'm left-handed. I'm the only girl in a family of 3 boys, and I'm being the only girl, so I guess I am unique in that sense. So what stands out for me now in my later years being left-handed is when I go for boxing classes. The boxing stance, or like how you stand to box, is the opposite way for me. So whenever the punches are being thrown, or like the trainer has to wear those gloves to kind of catch the punches, he always puts it on the wrong side. And the other one is the branded mugs, especially the ones with the handles. Because I hold the cup on my left hand, the branding is always on the for people who hold their cups on the right hand. So the branding sits on the inside for me, which actually annoys me. But yeah, lovely show. Have a good day. Bye.
Dada John and Tim, I'm one of those who's left-handed, writes as a left-handed person, but then I'm not quite ambidextrous as such, but for some other functions, I tend to use my right. So I'm a bit of a confused left-handed person. Great show as always. Sebonga. Sim.
Thanks for those. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, you might have just joined us. So for your benefit, we'll be talking about diabetes now being South Africa's biggest natural cause of death in the country, overtaking TB. I think that's a development that occurred this year. We're going to talk a lot more about diabetes a little later with Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana, Chief Scientific Officer at the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation. But I'm interested to know, for people who are living with diabetes, I mean, if this has been true for you over a long period of time, have the advances in technology, the ways of administering insulin, made a really substantial difference to your lives? I'd be really, really keen to hear from you and just tell us, because my earliest memories of knowing people with diabetes was, certainly they looked to me and factor in the fact that I'm not a great fan of needles, but it did look to me as if, the administering of the treatment with needles and having to do it yourself in many cases might have been extremely difficult. Has it made it much, much easier, the advances in the technology around the disease? Give us a call on 011-883-0702 and 072-702-1702. After 4 o'clock, Alpha Ramashwana is at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. They're still hearing evidence from a new witness today. He'll step out and just tell us what's happened so far today. It's 4 o'clock.
This is EWN.
KZN police accused of killing innocent people for a quick payout, and Iran and US still at loggerheads over the Strait of Hormuz. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. The father of a slain KwaZulu-Natal tow truck operator has told the Madlanga Commission his son was never involved in the drug trade despite some of his friends' involvement in the narcotics business. The Commission is hearing testimony from Gregory Loftus, whose son, Bevan Loftus, was killed in 2023 by police. Loftus's killing was described as a legitimate police operation. However, his father believes tow truck owner and alleged drug dealer Clive Nyker paid 2.5 million rand to a police commander for officers to kill him. Alpha Ramushana has more.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard that some tow truck businesses in KZN are used as a front for criminal activities. The Commission has heard allegations that some tow trucks are used to transport drugs across the province. Gregory Loftus, whose son Bevan owned a towing business, insists he was not involved in selling drugs. However, he admits his son associated with people in the drug business.
Bevan had friends and business associates that were allegedly involved in gangs and other criminal activities. The tow truck industry also saw a lot of violent crime. Gang violence involving the tow truck industry started in winter during 2020. Bevan, his friends and his drivers started being shot at by the members of a drug gang called the Cartel.
The Commission is investigating allegations that KZN police are being used by criminals to target and kill certain individuals under the guise of legitimate police operations. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
In the courts, Kobus Janse van Rensburg has accused deceased Marius van der Merwe, known as Witness D at the Madlanga Commission, of giving false and misleading statements to investigators and wrongfully implicating him in murder, robbery and defeating the ends of justice. Janse van Rensburg made the claim while detailing his version in support of his release on bail. He, along with suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and others, face charges of murder, defeating the ends of justice and robbery in relation to the murder of businessman Emmanuel Mbense. Timakaza Leshoro has more.
Accused number one, Kobus Janse van Rensburg, says he had a professional relationship with Marius van der Merwe in 2022, but that they experienced difficulties which he claims may have led to the allegations. Janse van Rensburg also denies involvement in Emmanuel Mbense's murder. He says he was asked by a private security company to trace a truck that had allegedly been involved in an armed robbery of stock worth about 5 million rand. Janse van Rensburg says he attended the operation, inspected the truck and confirmed it was the one being sought, but didn't find the allegedly stolen stock in the truck. He says he didn't enter the property when Mbense was allegedly tortured and killed. Janse van Rensburg says he left after completing his mandate and the scene remained under the control of the SAPS and EMPD. Dimakazo Leshoro, Eyewitness News, Brakpan Magistrates Court.
The ANC says Parliament's impeachment committee's ongoing preparatory work for the Section 89 inquiry into President Cyril Ramaphosa's conduct risks unnecessary duplication, procedural confusion and wasteful expenditure. Ramaphosa is facing impeachment over the events that unfolded after the theft of more than $500,000 from his farm, Parapara, in 2020. Yesterday, the Constitutional Court dismissed an application from the committee and several political parties for leave to appeal the interdict, which has temporarily blocked the committee from holding public hearings. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
The ANC says President Ramaphosa is exercising his constitutional right to seek a judicial review of the report compiled by 3 jurists that has suggested he face impeachment. The ANC had shot down that report in the National Assembly in 2022, but the Constitutional Court overturned that decision in May, ordering Parliament to proceed with an inquiry. Following yesterday's order of the court in which it refused to entertain political parties trying to appeal last month's interdict, curtailing the work of the impeachment committee, the ANC says it's concerned by the committee proceeding with preparatory work such as appointing an evidence leader in the interim. In a statement, the ANC says an important constitutional matter such as this should not be rushed on the basis of a numerical majority. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula says Parliament should devote as much urgency to the material challenges facing South Africans, such as the high cost of living, as it is to this inquiry. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
In the Middle East, Iran says there's been no progress in talks to revive the interim deal between Tehran and the US that they agreed to in June and a time frame to implement a permanent end to the war in the Gulf. The two countries remain at loggerheads over efforts to agree to a deal as the Strait of Hormuz remains under the control of the Islamic Republic. This after US President Donald Trump claimed control over the strategic waterway and recently issued yet another broadside against Iran's leaders following new attacks on shipping in the region region on Tuesday. The deal, agreed to in June, declared an immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, but quickly unraveled, with Trump saying it was over on July 7th and Iran's foreign ministry declaring it suspended a week later. The U.S. accuses Iran of failing to honor an agreement under the deal to reopen the vital waterway, while Tehran says Washington has reneged on its commitments, including lifting a blockade of Iranian ports and releasing frozen Iranian assets. Gold's trading at $4,372.97 an ounce. The rand's at 16.14 to the dollar, at 21.80 to the pound, at 18.62 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $86.81 a barrel.
In Soweto, there's an accident on the N12 East at the Diepkloof interchange. Please use Renshaw Road as an alternative route. And traffic lights are out in Sandton at Catherine and Grayston Drive. Pointsman on duty.
In your sport, no margin for error as Banyana take on Nigeria in a World Cup playoff. Luke Bartman impresses as Kaizer Chiefs return to the summit of the Betway Premiership. And Steve Smith saved by technology, but it's Bangladesh who come out top on day one of their opening test.
Look at your weather. A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 3 degrees and peak at highs of 16. Pretoria is at 5 and 17. Vereeniging's at 3, also reaching highs of 17 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The father of a slain KwaZulu-Natal tow truck operator has told the Madlanga Commission his son was never involved in the drug trade, despite some of his friends' involvement in the narcotics business.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, yes, the Madlanga Commission, indeed. Lots of important and really quite compelling evidence delivered today. The commission hearing is still going on. Alpha Ramoshwana is keeping an eye on it for us, our EWN colleague, with us at around 20 past 4 with some details. Staying with issues of crime and indeed violence, we will be talking in a moment to Julian Rademeyer. He joins us from the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. He's come up with some very interesting and I think important data about political assassinations. Since January 1 this year, there have been 26 suspected political hits. Many of them have made the news, but I must admit, while it's been going on, I don't think I've been sort of doing a tally for myself. So when I saw that number 26, I thought, that is significantly higher than I realized. You could, of course, go back on clippings and links in news online and so on. And fine, I'm showing my age talking about clippings. There's no such thing anymore, I think. But it's an alarming tally, and the trends suggested by what Julian Rademeyer is saying are just as worrying as the numbers. He's with us shortly. Later in the show, we'll be in our weekly feature, Your House, Your Home, talking to Kieran Ryan, who's joining us from MoneyWeb, and he's been looking at the entity, the NHBRC, which looks at building standards, looks at various issues around the built environment, and included in its mandate is to act as an insurer of last resort for people who cannot get redress if they've taken occupation of something they've paid for, but the building is actually defective in significant ways. Kieran Ryan's been looking at the fact that the NHBRC actually has significant amounts of money, but pays out very, very little on an annual basis. We'll find out why sometime around 10 to 5. This is 702 Drive. Do give us a call on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. Now, we've been asking you if perhaps you use your left hand when you use your phone. Well, we've been looking at today being International Left-Handers Day, and some very interesting observations coming from people who actually are left-handed. Let's hear a few of your thoughts.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Ndade John. So I am left-handed and also left-footed. So I play my soccer with my left foot. And I remember growing up, when I started school in 1995, I had this teacher who was teaching us to write, our grade 1 teacher, which was standard AA, and she used to really beat me because apparently I was not using the right hand, so I was using the wrong hand, and she used to beat me until when she eventually gave up. And it was the thing back then to always beat that left hand when the child is using it, so that they can learn to use the right hand. And that used to happen even at home, but they eventually just gave up and just accepted their fate. That is what, well, that's my fate. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for that. Just on the conversations we've been having, because Rifue Letsua earlier today said she really wanted to be left-handed because she thought that would complete the picture of her desired image of being a nerd. So she wanted glasses, she wanted to write left-handed, and she wanted braces. So Robert sends us this message and says, Rifue would be jealous of me. I was a complete nerd with glasses, left-handed, and had braces. I'm 47 now. My grade 1 teacher tried to force me to write right-handed. That went down like a ton of bricks when my mother found out. I couldn't tie my shoelaces until I was 9. My brain just couldn't figure it out. There was a left-handed shop in Bramley, that's in Joburg for people who don't know, and they told my mom to teach me in the mirror. That said, the world really is geared towards right-handed people, tools, machinery, and even eating, your knife in your right hand. There was a study in the early 90s, now debunked, that claimed that lefties were more likely to die earlier. But there is apparently a correlation between injury and left-handedness. He says it's a polygenic trait. I had to look up what that is, a physical or biological characteristic controlled by 2 or more genes working together. So Robert, just picking up on his thoughts, says it can be relatively random. And do tell Tolakele that if the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body and vice versa, then it stands to reason that only lefties are in their right mind. Robert sending us that from Houghton Estate. Let's get the traffic, left-hand side of the road, please. This EWN traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance if you don't ask them for 500 Rand.
EWN Traffic.
Lisejo Singo has the latest for you.
Yes, thanks, John. In Soweto, there's an accident on the N12 East at the Diepkloof interchange. Please use Renshaw Road as an alternative route. In Johannesburg CBD, Braamfontein, there's slow-moving traffic on the M1 between Albertina Sisulu Road and Empire Road. Bedfordview, there's an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic. Also in Bedfordview, there are delays happening on the N3 North between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange due to roadworks. In Sandton, there's an accident on Greyston Drive, slowing down traffic between Catherine Street and the M1. Traffic lights are out in Sandton at Catherine and Greyston Drive, in Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive, in North Riding at the N1 South and Malibonga Drive. Pointsmen are on duty in those areas. In Tshwane, Centurion, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South at the Barakfontein Road, causing traffic to back up. Use Samrand Avenue as an alternative route. If you have any other traffic updates, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you find the value of X in your child's algebra homework, but they can get the traffic flowing smoothly so you get to the school on time. The Outsurance Pointsmen are real heroes in green and purple, easing traffic congestion and making our lives easier for almost 21 years. Just another way you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag PointsmenLove. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, political killings have been a huge problem in South Africa for a good number. Of course, the political killings task team very much front and center. Firstly, in what led to the formation of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and a strong thread throughout that body's deliberations. They're continuing right now, and Alpha Ramashwana will update us shortly on today's proceedings. But I want to turn to something posted on X by my next guest. Julian Rademeyer is a senior advisor to the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, and he has both listed but also broken down into different threads. I suppose I could call it the political killings or the politics-related killings that have taken place this year. Suspected political hits in South Africa since the 1st of January, number 26, and there have been 23 incidents across 5 different provinces. Julian Rademeyer, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Do we have more killings of this kind in years when we have local government elections? Is there a link between that part of our political process and the phenomenon you're digging deeper into?
Good afternoon, John. Good to be with you again. Yes, indeed. There have been, I think the Global Initiative has documented close to 200 political assassination cases since 2000. And many of those, or what we do see is a particular spike around municipal and local government election years. In fact, around, I think more than half of them, around 56% of assassinations since that time have taken place in those years. So it's a period when there's contestation over resources in municipalities and increasingly dwindling resources. It's when tensions over access to tenders, resources come to a head. But it's also, in some instances, a way of eradicating opposition to people taking up positions.
Is there a pattern? I mean, and obviously this depends on arrests, prosecutions, and convictions, because you can't say for sure. Do you have a sense, though, that this is inter-party violence, or it's conflicts within parties over who, for example, gets the nomination for either ward or PR councillor?
I think in some ways it's very difficult to assess political killings, very neatly, as this is definitively a political killing. Those do exist, but in other cases it gets quite murky, whether people are involved, for instance, in the taxi industry, or involved in some way in extortion, or, as you say, vying for political power and positions and access to money and tenders. So all of those tend to come up in situations like this. And it's been a trend. It's something that was identified, for instance, by the Morani Commission of Inquiry back in 2018, who've been, warning then about the criminalization of politics and the violence that comes with that, and the competition that exists, particularly at a local government level.
I'm looking at one of the things you break down, and please, I really urge people follow Julian on X at Julian Rademeyer, and you can have a good look through what he's put up for yourself. 26 people killed on your calculation, 5 of them from civic movements. So in other words, not from political parties at all, but people, and what comes to mind, because they've suffered a number of killings, the Shack Dwellers movement, Abahlali, Basi Mjondolo, whose activists have really been very firm, robust, and quite vocal in their criticism of the powerful in local government. Is that number of 5, though, because they're not all from Abahlali, is that suggesting this is becoming more common? I know it's a small sample, perhaps, but is there a trend taking shape?
It is a small sample. I mean, I think within Abahlali we've seen a number of assassinations over the years. What I try to do with this particular graph is look quite closely at assassinations that involve either political party membership or membership of a civic organization. The Global Initiative's definitions go a bit broader and would, for instance, include people who are political office bearers in or office bearers in municipalities.
Right.
So the focus here is mainly on political parties and then civic movements. But the numbers of assassinations in civic movements or killings of activists, that's been extremely worrying for a long time.
I'm looking at the parties they come from. Most are from the ANC, 7 people from the MK party. Obviously, those two in historical terms, very, very closely aligned given the individual histories. But I haven't noticed before, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in past years, members of the EFF being targeted, someone from the DA, someone from Build One South Africa. Again, is there enough there to say there's a trend of more parties being drawn into this kind of violence, or is it simply still too new and perhaps too insubstantial in terms of statistical probability?
I think from a statistical point of view, it'd be very difficult to say that this is a new and emerging trend, but it's certainly very worrying. The spread of assassinations across multiple political parties, and the shift we've seen, for instance, again this year to political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. If you look at the assassination figures for last year, there were fewer in KwaZulu-Natal. Now that we're in an election year, we again see that cluster of violence, and that's something that's been documented for a very long period of time. The Morani Commission, for example, but even before that. I think that we've reached a point, an inflection point in some ways in our politics, and I think there's a realization, certainly at a national level, that something has to be done here. But I think, aside from, for instance, the political killings task team and the work that they're doing, we are still sorely under-equipped to try and tackle the scale of political killings, never mind other assassinations in South Africa. And it's having a very real and corrosive effect on our politics.
Do societies reach, I don't know if tipping point is the word, point of no return might be a different kind of cliche, but do you reach points where these things become harder to stop, that they don't just grow in a straight line, sort of arithmetically, but you get geometric jumps because people say, okay, you can get away with this, and if we look at the lack of consequence on the one hand and the significant benefit of the other by using violence in this kind of political contestation, why don't we do this more than we have until now? I mean, are we at that kind of risk?
I think we're seeing that, across society, be it political assassinations or organized crime hits or taxi-related hits.
Right.
There does seem to be, a greater sense of impunity and a sense that you can get away with this. Even if you look at the numbers when it comes to what people are willing to pay for a hit, the range from, as little as sort of 5,000 Rand up to 75,000 or 100,000, not insanely huge amounts of money for what you're asking someone to do.
Yes.
So I think that, it's become more common, and I think we've somehow become a bit more inured to it. If you look at the coverage around so many of these assassinations, that are documented in that list and elsewhere. The media coverage is fairly low in many cases, particularly the more localized ones. And I think, I think some of that also ties into, the lack of coverage, for instance, in rural areas. But it does become, you do reach, I think, a tipping point where this becomes almost, I wouldn't say an accepted part, but certainly an acknowledged part of political processes, and that's very dangerous.
Thank you so much, Julian Rademacher. Lots to think about. And by the way, maybe your reflections on the last thing he said. Have we become accepting that there will be in our politics, be it contestation between elections or the specific contestation that we get in a year when we have polls, that we've come to accept this as part of South African life? What would be the consequences of that? Your thoughts on 072 702 1702.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry picking up on evidence that was delivered yesterday. We heard in the morning from Gregory Loftus, whose son Bevan Loftus was killed in 2023 by police, a tow truck owner, but all sorts of questions being asked about him and his associations, his father testifying today, as I said. But we have a new witness on the stand. Let's start there, find out who it is and what we know about what this particular witness is saying and what they might say going forward. Alpha Rambushwana, EWN reporter, joins us now. Alpha, I'm looking up at my screens. I can see someone testifying who is a new witness from midday today. Who's on the stand and what areas are they covering? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Dr. John. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is currently hearing the testimony of Captain Ashley Houston, who is a retired captain in the South African Police Service in KZN in Durban specifically. And he's among the investigators and police officers who were called to the scene soon after the 2023 murder of Bevan Loftus in Durban. And so Loftus was killed by police in what they described as a legitimate police operation. But earlier on in the morning, we heard from Bevan Loftus's father, Gregory Loftus, who believes and claims that there was a 2.5 million rand hit on his son's life, and they were aware of it months before he was killed, and believes that a man named Clive Naika, who is a tow truck operator and an alleged drug dealer in the area, is the one who paid senior police officers 2.5 million rand to kill Bevan Loftus and disguise it as a legitimate police operation. And so in the morning, throughout the morning, actually, we were hearing Bevan Loftus's father really saying he believes that KZN police were used by alleged drug dealer and tow truck operator Clive Naika to kill his son. And also, when he was asked whether or not he knew his son was in the drug business, he claimed that his son wasn't in the drug business and wasn't doing any illegal activities, but did admit that Bevan Loftus did associate himself with people who were indeed in the drug business and people who led notorious gangs in KZN. So that's what we heard from the father in the morning today. But now we're hearing from this retired captain, Ashley Houston, and really what he's saying is completely different to what we heard in the morning from Bevan Loftus's father, who some would say painted his late son as someone who was rather innocent. But this retired police captain says that in all his years of policing in Durban, Bevan Loftus was known as a notorious figure, and he was part of a notorious gang in the area called the Hollywood Gang. And this gang would often be dealing in drugs. They would be found many times with firearms that are not registered and licensed, and says that he has arrested Bevan Loftus on 2 previous occasions. So what the retired captain is saying is a stark contrast to what his father said earlier today.
Yeah, it's a complex picture. Is this going to be the business of the commission for a number of days? Still more tomorrow, more next week?
Yes, certainly, Dr. John. You would know that the Commission's terms of reference mandated to investigate the criminal infiltration of the South African Police Service, and this is what exactly is going on at the moment. It might not be the infiltration through the senior police officers in SAPS, as we've heard since its inception. This time around, they're also looking at the police officers that are not so known.
Yes.
In the South African Police Service. So your commanders, leaders of certain task teams, captains, sergeants. So they are now looking into those community stories where gangs have infiltrated the South African Police Service using police officers that they would ordinarily see on the street, in their neighborhoods. And so tomorrow we do know that they are going back to the IDAC matter with Trushanta Ramsamy expected back on the stand. But throughout next week, we are expecting the Commission to focus both on IDAC and on the KZN gangs that have infiltrated the South African Police Service. So they're going to be juggling the two for the next few weeks in John.
Thank you so much, Alpha Ramoshwana. Madlanga Commission is continuing. Alpha providing updates. Listen out for them in our news bulletins on the half hour. We'll have one in a moment with Maki Mulapo, and of course a full bulletin at the top of the hour. Alpha keeping an eye on things. We'll let you know when important things happen. 29 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Stephen Critters, a very good afternoon to you. What kind of day have we had on the markets?
Good afternoon, John. Yeah, not great, although good for some people. The JSE All Share down 0.2% at 114,242 points at the moment. Resources are down 3.39, so lower platinum and gold prices. Industrials are up 0.3. Financials are up 1% at the moment. Really staggering day for Standard Bank. So they've had record profits, headline earnings of over 26 billion rand in the first half of the year, 10% higher, John, than the same period last year. Their South African division doing very well. They're investing heavily in AI. Their gross loans and advances were up 5% in South Africa, so really a very strong day for them. Their share price up about 4% or so at the moment, and really an indication, I think, of a business that seems to be moving very, very nicely indeed. Strangely, Grindrod yesterday down nearly 12%. Today up 8.5%. Truworths, they're up 5.76%. Now, Truworths reporting their group retail sales figures were actually down 0.9% in the year to the end of June, partly due to a stronger rand-pound exchange rate. The second half of the year, Truworths Africa, its retail sales down 0.1% in the second half and down 2.1% in the full year, but their online sales were up nearly 22%. Their product deflation was 0.4%. Not a terrible time to buy clothes. The Foschini Group is up 4.59%, while Mr. Price is up 3%. So this is really a sort of retail story. Woolworths, by the way, they're up 2.59. Financials up strongly too. Old Mutual up 2.71. Rainbow Chicken saying it's had record earnings per share. Its headline earnings per share will be up by around 120% compared to last year. Stronger demand for poultry products, robust agricultural and operational performance, and DRD Gold saying their headline earnings will be up by around 90%, a 40% increase in the Rand gold price during the period. Pan-African Resources leading the way. They're down 6%. Implats, Northern Valterra, all of them down quite strongly. Kumba as well, Kumba Iron Ore, and then Anglo Gold down 3.38. So it's really your energy shares going down today. The main indices in the US opening slightly higher, so crude oil is slightly lower. It's improved risk appetite. Also softer than expected producer price inflation reading, which goes into inflation expectations. In the US at the moment, the Dow Jones is up 0.35, the Nasdaq is up 0.88, the S&P 500 is up 0.7. The gold price is $4,376.48 an ounce. Platinum, $1,724.65. Brent crude, a smidgen lower, John, $86 or so. And then looking at the rand to the dollar, 16.17. It's been strengthening over the last week, as we've seen, to the pound 21.83, to the euro 18.65. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Back with us at about 25 minutes past 5, 28 minutes to the hour now. News time. Here's Marky.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. A new witness has taken the stand at the Madlanga Commission to testify about the killing of a KZN tow truck operator. Retired police captain Ashley Houston is among the team of investigators who were at the 2023 murder scene of tow truck operator Bevan Loftus. Loftus was killed by police in what they described as a legitimate police operation. However, the commission has heard allegations that he was targeted by his competitor in the towing business, Clive Nyker. It's been alleged that Nyker paid a police officer 2.5 million rand to arrange his murder under the guise of a police operation. Houston recalls the day Loftus was killed.
The damage done there, there's no way of survival. Everyone had headshots, lead the body shots. I know exactly the killing spot on your body. So as a weapon expert, I'm saying this as a shotist, test me. I know exactly where to kill you, the killing shot went to. So they all had headshots.
In the Western Cape, SASSA staff at the Bellville office have accused management of failing them, saying understaffing, a shortage of equipment and lack of support are hurting services to vulnerable grant beneficiaries. Social Development Minister Dina Pule visited the Bellville and Khayelitsha offices today to get first-hand experience of the challenges facing staff and grant recipients. At Bellville, beneficiaries raised concerns about long queues and slow service. Ntutuzela Nene has more.
SASSA staff at the Bellville office said the challenges go beyond long queues, with some accusing management of responding only to their needs when senior officials are around. They told Minister Dina Pule that conditions improve when senior management visits, but workers are left struggling once officials leave. SASSA staff member Kenneth Claassen says the lack of support is affecting the service provided to people who depend on social grants.
Our office managers are struggling to get all these tools for us. Now, because you are here, now you guys are supporting us. We can't give this service today for our client and then tomorrow we make a scale. Because we're failing them. Because we're pretending to you. I can't go to retail.
Pule assured the workers that SASSA management will address their concerns.
And don't stress.
Yeah, but
the
I'm
fact
just
that I'm here today, it means that we have to relieve you the stress.
Thank you.
You can't be stressed when I'm here.
Pule says more contract workers will be employed across the country in the coming months to ease the pressure on SASSA offices. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News in Belleville.
And live streaming service Twitch has been criticized by users after it emerged the popular streaming platform allowed their content to be used to train Amazon's artificial intelligence models. Amazon owns Twitch, and a setting allowing the US tech giant to take data generated by creators and audiences to train AI is turned on by default. Yesterday, Twitch said users can now opt out of that, but the announcement sparked a backlash, and the service didn't respond to some users who questioned why it was allowed in the first place. Users who remain opted in could have any of their channel content used for training, and the data collected will not be resold to other companies. Head of community at Twitch, Mary Kish, said data collection for AI training has become an industry standard. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows between 3 and 5 degrees and peak at highs of 16 and 17 degrees.
Traffic lights are out in Sandton at Catherine and Grayson Drive, in Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive, in North Riding at the N1 South and Malibonga Drive. Pointsmen on duty in those particular areas.
The top story in Eyewitness News: a new witness has taken the stand at the Madlanga Commission to testify about the killing of a KZN tow truck operator.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Do's and don'ts in the cinema. If you want to upset me, if you want the tap on your shoulder, keep playing with your cell phone.
Morning, Bongani. Yeah, I was in out of the cinema. It was crazy busy with this new Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I just can't remember which cinema I went to. They go to signal jammers where they block they kill the phone signal. So obviously you can't use the phone or speak on it or chat or type.
That's a good idea. Hey, signal jammers at the cinema.
No,
Why do you
I'm
need
sorry.
signal at the cinema?
Oh, what? That emergency call when it comes in
For
and
what?
you are there. No, Bongani. We will not just, you know what?
Are you
Don't
a first
use your...
responder? Are you an emergency?
Yes, I am. To my children and my husband, I am.
Morning, Bongani. This is Medisi here. I think cell phone jammers at movie house, that's a big no, guys. No, guys. We're not in Russia.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
The Department of Transport is verifying TRN certificates issued to natural persons between 1 January 2000 and 30 June 2023 to clear dormant records from the NATIS system. If you received a TRN during this period, visit transport.gov.za and use the TRN portal for more information and to check whether your number appears on the dormant list. Affected holders have 30 days from the date of publication of this notice to verify their details and submit the required documents at the listed provincial offices. For inquiries, email trn@dot.gov.za using your TRN number as the subject line. This message is issued by the National Department of Transport.
That's Liesel, before she got naked. Liesel checked her insurance premium and got angrier than the time a teenager called her Tani. So Liesel got naked and got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds, all on the Naked app. There we go, Liesel. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports. No more disconnected systems. No more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
702. WhatsApp John.
On 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. I have a left-handed story. I'm not left-handed, I'm right-handed, but I had a friend, well, not had, still have him. He was left-handed when we were growing up, and whenever he'd come eat at my house, as we did in the early 90s, my mom would always hit him because she didn't want him to eat with his left hand, because in my culture, your left hand is only used when you go to the loo. And yeah, I suppose she did that enough times, and now he's right-handed. He's fully right-handed. He writes with his right hand, he kicks with his right hand, he does everything with his right hand. Cheers.
Good day, John and team. Daniel Nixon here from Tukomsras. John, I'm right-handed, but I use my left hand to throw. I've tried so many times to get my right-handed trained for throwing, but I can't. I use only my left hand to throw, but I am right-handed. Daniel Nixon here from Tukomsras.
Hi, Mr. John. How are you in the team? My both kids are left-handed, while I'm right-handed, and my wife is also right-handed. And surprisingly, my wife gave birth to both of them the same month and the same date. So I only celebrate their birthday once in a year. Both of them are giving birth to on the same month, the same date, and both of them are left-handed. Have a good one, guys. Shout out to all the left-handed in the whole world.
Yeah, here's Mike, who says, I am left-handed, I eat right-handed. I play cricket and golf right-handed, tennis left-handed. Can't cut anything unless I have a fork in my left hand. Cut bread with my left hand, what we call cack-handed. Mike, what a mix. Goodness me. It's 19 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Tolekele, yeah, Banyana. All eyes on Morocco as they take on Nigeria. I know that sounds a little strange, but that's what we're in for.
Absolutely, John. And it's win or nothing for Banyana as they take on Nigeria tonight, with both teams provided one last chance to qualify for next year's World Cup. The winner advances to the preliminary round of the Interconfederation playoffs, which features 6 teams. It's a 13th meeting against the Super Falcons at WAFCON for South Africa. And Gabriela Salgado Mudali says this is their biggest ever clash.
As Banyana, we always go out onto the field and give our very best. We always give in 100%. Yes, it's been a bumpy road, but it's not over yet. We just have to believe that if we play our best football on the day, we should win. We just have to be more hungry than the next team. It's going to be a very, very demanding game. But I believe that as Banyana, we are ready for this challenge. You know, we always step up for a challenge. We never back down.
Abdeslam Wadu has told his Orlando Pirates players to wake up following a lackluster showing in their 1-0 Betway Premiership draw with AmaZulu. The Buccaneers were picked back after taking an early lead, while they also saw Sihle Nduli stretch it off after a rough challenge from Usutu's Thandolwe Nkosi Ngwenya. After that game, Wadu said only Sipho Chain and Nkosinathi BC were performing at a level that he requires from all his players.
Since the beginning of the season, I am playing with the 1 or 2 men down. When am I going to recover them? I hope soon, because there is an emergency. Every point are very important. We are going to wait these points at the end of the season. I need quickly my international players to land in our planet, in our hearts. The US is finished, and they need quickly to be part of the team spirit of football. You know, it's very difficult to wait, because if we wait until December to get fit, it will be late. So I need really them to come to the party.
Fly half Richie Mwanga has been called up by the All Blacks for the greatest rivalry series after being cleared by New Zealand Rugby as he replaces Billy Proctor, who suffered a shoulder injury and has returned home. He could be in line to take on the Bulls on Saturday, and Johan Ackerman has heaped praise for him ahead of that clash.
He's probably the best flyer in New Zealand, in my view. So won't be surprised if we do see him play on Saturday. He will make a huge difference because of his attacking mindset and his skill set. Actually watch his return game for the MPC, and he scored the winning try in that game out of nothing. I watched him in Japan when I was there, and he basically won the one final for Toshiba by himself, you know, scoring tries, kicking posts, to dominate the game with his foot and his passing and skill set.
And Elena Rybakina advanced to the final of the National Bank Open for the first time in her career, having rallied from a set down to beat Coco Gauff. Rybakina bounced back to win 5-7, 6-2 and 6-2 in 2 hours, and will next take on Igor Swiatek, who scored a 3-set win over Elena Svitolina in the first semi. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
16 minutes now to 5. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Let's find out what's happening out on the roads. One more time, Lisego Singo, good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. Bedfordview, there's an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic. Bedfordview also, there are delays happening on the N3 North between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange due to roadworks. In Woodmead, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 West between Woodmead Drive and Main Road. Traffic lights are out in Sandton at Catherine and Grayston Drive, in Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive, in North Riding at the N1 South and Malibongwe Drive. Pointsmen are on duty in that particular areas. In Tshwane, Centurion, there is slow-moving traffic on the Old Johannesburg Road and Hendrik Verwoerd. Centurion, there is a stationary vehicle on the N1 South at the Brackfontein Road causing traffic to back up. Use Samran Avenue as an alternative route. Pretoria West, Eskiam, Pahlele and Flower pointsmen are on duty in that area. For any other traffic updates, WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 51. Did I use too many emojis in that text? Did I sound too eager? Oh, the mental gymnastics. Well, with the Outsurance Pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Coming up on 702 Drive, shortly we're going to be talking to MoneyWeb's journalist Kieran Ryan. He's written a very interesting piece about an entity I don't know much about, but you'll understand why we're doing it, particularly in our weekly feature, Your House, Your Home. The National Home Builders Registration Council has cash and investments of more than 11 billion rand, yet even though they are the insurer of last resort for people who are having problems with the quality of homes that have been built for them, last year, they paid out just 14 million rand in warranty claims. What's going on? Kieran has some ideas. He's with us shortly. After 5, we will take a closer look at diabetes in South Africa. Now, diabetes has overtaken TB as the as the largest cause of death from natural causes in South Africa. We'll talk to Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana, Chief Scientific Officer at the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation. We were talking about this story, just making plans on how we were going to cover it. And I reflected on when I was a kid, and I'm talking about really a kid, 7, 8, 9, 10. When we first heard about diabetes as a group of small kids, we just thought this was probably the most terrible thing that could happen. And people were saying, well, you know, if you have diabetes, you can't eat chocolate and you can't have lots of syrup on your bread and you can't eat sweets and you can't drink Sparletta, Fanta and Coke and all those things. And that seemed to be the scale of what would be the worst thing that could befall you. And of course, the seriousness of diabetes is underlined by the statistics we're going to be discussing after 5. But there are many other conditions as well, which as you get older, you come to know either through health problems you encounter yourself or seeing what happens to people you love or people just that you happen to know who battle with diseases of various kinds. I wanted to ask you this. What is the condition that has kind of scared you the most, that you've contemplated and wondered about and thought, oh my goodness, this is something that I really hope it never happens to me? And if indeed it has happened to you, maybe you've got some stories that shed some light on an otherwise fairly heavy topic about how you can actually find a way to live with a changed life. So that's what's on my mind. Refue, thoughts from you?
So for me, that disease was diabetes, and it
Yes.
still is. So we had a relative. Well, she has diabetes. She's been living with diabetes for over 23 years.
Okay.
And I had to take care of them. You know, there are times where you'd find them on the floor. They would have fainted because of low blood, or they were too hungry, or they sugar the sugar in their blood was too high. Sometimes it was really traumatizing, but she was learning about it, and then she was actually teaching us about it to a point where I know her medicine off by heart. I can tell you if her blood's been good. I'll look at her medicine and say, all right, so your blood has been good, and she's been in comas a couple of times.
Goodness.
So it's something scary, but it doesn't always have to be scary if you learn.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've walked that road helping someone close to you. Tola Kelly, anything you particularly fear?
For me, diabetes as well, because I also have a relative that struggled with it, but also TB.
Mhm.
We had an aunt that, like, every little movement would just, like, cause her to cough. And I just remember there were times when she would cough into her handkerchief, like blood would also come out. She was
Goodness.
on medication
Yes.
all of the time. She always had to have the air around her, like, purified, because all of those little things just triggered any sort of reaction from her. There are so many, but that one, a lot of my childhood was just constantly hearing her cough and her struggling to cough. And I could just imagine, when you have the flu and you're coughing and your chest is hot, that feeling for her every day always scared me that this could be the cough that was just like, it's done.
Sure. Okay, so illnesses that have always shaped up for you as something you really fear, do give us a call on that on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. And if you've had to cope with them, either as somebody dealing with the illness yourself or as a carer and somebody assisting people who are battling, your stories, please. We'll talk about diabetes in South Africa after 5. It's 9 minutes to the hour.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, let's turn to that MoneyWeb story now, and welcome to the show the author of the piece. Kieran Ryan has written about how the National Home Builders Registration Council is sitting on a huge amount of money, but it doesn't seem to pay a lot of it out in the 2025 financial year. Less than 14 million rand in warranty claims given out to people who had put those claims in. So what is actually going on, and crucially, why is this so important? Kieran, welcome and thanks very much for your time. What should the NHBRC be doing with this money, given, as you point out, they're sitting on cash and investments of around 11 billion rand?
Yeah, they're sitting on a huge amount of cash that they've built up over the last few decades. Some of it comes from enrolling home builders. So the function of the NHBRC is basically to create this register of home builders, make sure that they build according to the correct structural and safety standards. And they put that surplus money into the markets, and they earn, well, about 777 million in 2025 from that. So from enrollment fees, they're making about 630 million. From investments, they're making 770 million. They're only paid out. Now, they are the insurers of last resort. If something goes wrong with a home, they only paid out 14 million, which is a trivial amount of money. They are being criticized for that. They would say in their defense, and, it is a defense, that, well, their primary objective is just to make sure that houses, in the first instance, are built according to the correct standards. And they do that by maintaining this register, by training artisans up to the required standards, by doing inspections on buildings to make sure that they're built correctly. And then if anything goes wrong, they would do disciplinary action and also mediate between disputes. However, if you compare that with similar bodies elsewhere in the world, by the way, what is different about the NHBRC, it is also the regulator, so it is a government body.
Right.
But in other parts of the world, you have these private, not-profit organizations, and what they do is a similar kind of thing, but they have a much higher payout rate. So where you've got complaints about buildings that don't meet the safety standards, then in some instances paying up 6% of their assets per year.
So
this is, yeah.
No, do finish the thoughts and then I'll jump in with a question.
Yeah, so then the question is, well, a lot of the builders are saying, are the fees, the enrollment fees, are they appropriate given this huge stack of money that they've built up over the decades? If you go back to 20, 30 years ago when Joe Slovo was housing minister and you had all these RDP houses which were being thrown up, and, in many instances, thrown up is the right word, there were cracks appearing within a couple of months. So the government stepped in and said, well, we've got to do something. We've got to have some sort of oversight over this. And that's why the NHBRC came into being. Now, that being the case, they will say, well, we're doing about 60,000 inspections per year. That's a lot of work, and that's a huge salary bill. So the biggest growth, where the money is going, is in the salary bill. It's the employment of people, the employment of inspectors. Now, there's only about 544 people employed at the NHBRC, so it's not huge.
Yes.
But and people in the building industry want to know, what are we paying for? And the real issue, why I started getting interested in this, was in 2024, you had that building collapse in George.
Right.
They were building a 5-story building, and that collapsed. Now, that's gone to court. There's the widow of one of the workers who died. 34 people died in that. It's a terrible catastrophe. But the NHBRC is fighting that on technical grounds, and this widow is trying to hold them accountable for damages. And I thought, well, I started to take a look at that, and I just got more and more interested in it, and just how this case is going to go. Of course, they're going to look for who's the most culpable, who's going to be held accountable for this. In the first instance, they would say it's the builder. But I'm pretty sure that the builder doesn't have the kind of pockets for a big damages claim that is likely to come should this widow succeed in her case. So the NHBRC is defending that.
Yeah. So I mean, if we go to the kind of stuff, and obviously the George example you've just given us, Kieran, is a very, very specific one. And as I understand, as the inquiries unfolded, there were serious questions raised about the efficacy of the work, the core work that the NHBRC was meant to do, and it's been suggested they actually didn't. But for example, if someone puts up a housing scheme and they're nice 4-bedroom stuff in a gated community, and I buy one and I find that it actually is defective in all sorts of ways. The person goes to ground, they file for business rescue, all those kinds of things happen. I can't get any money out of them. Am I entitled by law and by established practice, I would have thought, to go to the NHBRC and say, well, look, you are the body that would have said that Joe and Joe Construction was a fit and proper person to be building this estate. I've got damages. I've lost money. I don't have a home. I need you to pay me out. Is that the way the movie should run?
Yeah, but there are a few other steps on the way. So
Okay.
You would have the builder who would have an insurance policy. You would have the structural engineer who would have his professional insurance. So all of these guys are basically batting away the liability to whoever's got the deepest pockets. And if you've got professional insurance, yeah, you can be sure that you're going to be held accountable. If you don't, if you're Joe's builder and you've just shut down and you moved your bucky and your workers onto a new project with a new name, well,
Yes.
you've got no money. So there's no point in even bothering with that. But that's the problem that you have in South Africa is they call them fly-by-nights, but there's a lot of this going on in the building industry. Now, the NHBRC, with its register, in order to get registered, you have to show technical, financial competence and various other things. Not anybody can get registered with them. That's a good thing. But in practice, you can see when something like this goes wrong. And that George building collapse, what happened there was you had the concrete wasn't of the right grade. It was supposed to be reinforced concrete. It wasn't strong enough. The workers a couple of days before, and they're standing on top of this thing where there's a slab, and they felt the building move, and they reported it, but nothing was done.
Yes.
So they were sent back up to work there, and then, of course, this tragedy happened. Why did that happen? Well, the NHBRC was found by its own measures to have enrolled this person on a multi-story development when they weren't graded for that. So different builders have got different kinds of grading. You can do a
Yes,
single
yes.
story, okay, that's simple enough. But a multi-story, very different structural requirements, foundational requirements, and so on.
Kieran Ryan, thank you. MoneyWeb journalist. He's opening up a really, really interesting area of conversation. And I say that because a whole lot of you are now sending us your thoughts, including people who are had direct experience of trying to submit claims to the NHBRC. Maybe you've walked that road. Give us a call if you like. If you're in the building industry and you've got some thoughts on this. Clearly, this entity has a great deal of money, but are they putting it to effective use? It's something we'll have to look at in the coming days. 702 Drive. Thanks to Kieran Ryan. Pick up his piece on the Money website. It makes excellent reading.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Is there sufficient budget to be securing these military bases?
Budget is a crisis because at the Department of Defense, we are underfunded and we are expected to protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country from any attack, both external and internal. And we have seen now recently in the world, security and peace is not permanent. We don't know when an attack will come to our country, and we need to be combat ready.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. They asked if they could quote me. I said, quote me? I can't remember what I said. But if you're still thinking about it, it must have been pretty good. Mom always said I have a way with words. They just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
Uncertainty is rising, but your business still has to deliver. Production targets need to be met. And when your workforce is out of balance, the cost is immediate. Too many employees? Costs climb. Too few? Productivity drops. Workforce Staffing helps businesses stay in control with flexible workforce solutions deployed within 48 hours nationwide. When demand changes, your workforce can change with it. Visit workforcestaffing.co.za. Stay productive, stay flexible, stay in control.
This is EWN.
Slain KZN tow truck operator alleged to be a troublemaker.
I know this Bevan is no more, but Bevan associated himself not with two gangs, with one gang.
And SASSA to deploy 1,000 contract workers nationwide. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. The Madlanga Commission has heard that slain KZN tow truck operator Bevan Loftus was allegedly part of the notorious Hollywood gang in Durban. The Commission today heard evidence about the 2023 murder of Loftus, who was killed during what police described as a legitimate police operation. However, his father, Gregory Loftus, alleges that KZN CIT Task Team Commander Dina Govender was paid 2.5 million rand to have his son killed. The Commission has been looking into links between KZN police, gangs, hit squads and other criminal elements. Alpha Ramushana has more.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard that some tow truck businesses in KZN are used to transport drugs. There are also suggestions that slain tow truck operator Bevan Loftus may have been involved in the drug business. However, his father, Gregory Loftus, denied this during his testimony today.
I would dispute that he's a killer and he's a drug dealer. I would dispute that. But having said that, as we said earlier, I'm not with him 24 hours a day. But in the last year or two of his death, he was at home all the time.
But retired police captain Ashley Houston, who testified after Loftus, says his son wasn't an angel.
I know this Bevan is late. He's no more. But Bevan associated himself not with two gangs, with one gang. He was part of Hollywood.
Houston says Bevan and his gang were known as troublemakers. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
1,000 contract workers are set to be deployed at SASSA offices across the country to help cut long queues and ease pressure on staff and beneficiaries. The announcement was made by Social Development Minister Dina Pule during oversight visits to the Bellville and Kaelisha SASSA offices in Cape Town today. During the visits, Pule encountered frustrated staff who raised concerns about understaffing, a lack of equipment and insufficient support from management. SASSA offices countrywide have faced growing complaints about long waiting times, poor queue management and overcrowding. Ndutuzelo Nene has more.
Minister Dina Pule says demand for social assistance remain extremely high, with the number of beneficiaries growing daily. Around 19 million South Africans currently receive social assistance. Pule says the pressure being experienced by both SASSA staff and beneficiaries is understandable, given the volume of people seeking the services.
I said to the CEO, we definitely need to get more contract workers, young people in particular, who are going to be here because they understand computers. They can assist the elderly people so that the queues are faster.
Pule says the department will also attend to other complaints raised by staff and beneficiaries, including concerns around slow service at some offices. Ndutuzela Nene, Eyewitness News.
Following a week of violent protests at CPUT campuses and residences, it appears calm has been restored. Management at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology sent a communique to students last night responding to a second memorandum signed yesterday afternoon. However, hours after that development, there were more disruptions and unrest at several campuses. Mihla George takes a look.
This week, student unrest has led to injuries, structural damage and the arrest of at least 2 students. Police were deployed to various CPUT campuses with videos online showing officers firing rubber bullets to disperse protesters at the Belleville campus. However, it failed to immediately bring the chaos under control. Social media posts reveal injuries to students allegedly hit by rubber bullets, as well as structures being set alight and the torching of a security vehicle. CPUT spokesperson Lauren Kansley says an injured security guard remains in ICU.
Aware of the car, which was a security vehicle that was set alight in Wellington, and then it was mostly dirt bins, set alight curtains. I know at one building was also set alight. There was a building that was flooded at the District 6 campus.
An urgent meeting to the university's council last night has resolved to withdraw CPUT's draft financial recovery plan for 2027, the key issue fueling the protest. Mihla George, Eyewitness News.
And South Africa's mining sector has ended the second quarter on a weaker footing, with Statistics South Africa's mining production data showing production fell 4% year-on-year in June. The biggest declines came from platinum group metals, coal and iron ore. PGM production fell 8.4%, while coal dropped 6.6% and iron ore production fell by more than 10%. However, there was a slight improvement from May. Mining production rose 0.3% month-on-month in June after falling sharply by 5.2% in May. But overall, Stats SA says the second quarter was weak. Principal Survey Statistician John Perlman.
Despite this monthly increase, mining production in the second quarter of 2026 declined by 2.7% compared with the first quarter of 2026. Platinum group metals was the most significant negative contributor in the second quarter.
Gold's trading at $4,384.16 an ounce. The rand is at 16.16 to the dollar, at 21.83 to the pound, at 18.66 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $86.78 a barrel.
In Ethel Gardens, there is a crash on the M1 off-ramp to Greyston Drive, slowing down traffic. Bedford View, there is an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic.
In your sport, one more chance for Banyana to try and qualify for next year's World Cup. Fernando de Cruz believes that the Betway Premiership clash between Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns is taking place too early in the season. And Johan Ackerman says the clash against the All Blacks comes at the wrong time for the Bulls.
Now look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 3 degrees and peak at highs of 16. Pretoria is at 5 and 17 degrees, and Vereeniging is at 3, also reaching highs of 17 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The Madlanga Commission has heard that slain KwaZulu-Natal tow truck operator Bevan Loftus was allegedly part of the notorious Hollywood gang in Durban.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. Quite extraordinary what gets uncovered at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The focus originally on the political killings task team and the Minister of Police. All of this, of course, prompted last July by the press conference called by KZN Police Commissioner General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. But we've got into so many other areas. I mean, the tow truck business, suddenly front and center, and allegations that some people in this business are also linked to drug trafficking. It really has been an uncomfortable but in many ways compelling and hopefully very, very useful diving into corners of South Africa that I must admit I knew absolutely nothing about. Commission still sitting. There'll be updates as they come in our next bulletin. That's at 5:30, 6 o'clock, a full news bulletin. Alpha Ramashwana still very much keeping his eyes and ears open on that. We are going to be talking about diabetes. This because of the Minister of Health today, Dr. Arun Motsoaledi, talking about how diabetes is now the leading cause of death in South Africa, overtaking HIV and TB. Some of you are commenting on the question I asked, prompted by that. What are the health conditions that you fear the most? What worries you when you contemplate a period of significant ill health? Many of you have sent in your thoughts on that, and we'll be sharing those with you in a moment. After that, we'll talk to Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana, who's Chief Scientific Officer at the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation. We'll bring you the latest from the markets. We'll keep you updated on movements in the traffic in the last part of the show as well. We will be playing you some music. But first, let's hear about your health concerns.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Evening, John. Salamina from Pretoria. I've been diabetic for 20 years now, and yes, it's a very difficult disease to handle. I don't want to lie, it's very, very difficult, but I can say I generally eat anything and everything that I want. You just need to have a good understanding of the disease, because if you don't, you're really going to struggle to have proper glucose. If you don't have, you must just read up. You must take cognizance of what happens in your life when whatever it is that's going on, what happens to your glucose with regards to whatever is happening in your life. And on top of that, stress. You need to avoid stress. When you're unhappy, your diabetes shoots, your glucose readings shoot up, which is just bad for you. So avoid stress at all costs.
Hi, Tata John. So one illness that scared me in the 90s was that old AIDS. I remember seeing images of Nkosi Johnson. It was scary. I think that's probably why I remained a virgin until the day after I got married, because it was so scary. But also, I think cancer lately, because there's so many people that I know who are struggling with it. There's a classmate of mine who passed away at the age of 38 last year, that I went to primary school and high school with. And seeing her struggles and how she passed away, leaving 2 young children, and so many people around me that I know. My pastor's wife passed away from cancer. It's just scary.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those thoughts. We'll talk diabetes shortly. I do want to share with you, though, some other messages we're getting. This prompted by our conversation with Kieran Ryan joining us from MoneyWeb. He's been looking more closely at the operations and financial standing of the NHBRC, the Home Builders Regulatory Council. And I asked people if anyone's had dealings with them. Shamir says, we submitted a claim to the NHBRC and they just tie you up in admin and ridiculous requests. Totally detracts you from being able to proceed. They need to be more open to actually wanting to help. Faisal has the view, John, why don't they issue bursaries with this money to create more artisans and then also employ more inspectors? So quite a few of you with those views. If you've got some feedback on the work of the NHBRC, if indeed you've come across them in the course of your life, please do give us a call on 011 883 0702. This one more from Genre. I nearly missed this. I put in a claim against one of their registered contractors who stole a deposit of more than 50,000 Rand. They responded by deferring the matter and wouldn't assist with the recovery of the funds nor an arbitration. I had to seek private legal advice, and Genre goes on to say, I would welcome any advice. Obviously, we're going to have to get the NHBRC on the show ourselves and hear from them how it is they go about their business. 13 minutes past 5.
Drive Home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
So we're going to do music later in the show, and it was on this day in 2004 that a song by Robbie Williams was voted the best single, which never reached number one, but should have. It was a poll conducted by the TV channel VH1. Let's take a listen to the song, and then I'll tell you what we need from you.
And I feel that love is dead. I'm loving angels instead. And through it, oh, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong, and down the waterfall, wherever it may take me.
Yeah, so Angels by Robbie Williams never went higher than number 4. And there's some, really, really popular and acclaimed songs that also never made it to number 1. Bruce Springsteen, for example, you may have heard me say earlier, never, ever, ever in his absolutely stellar career has he achieved a number 1 single. So there's that. Madonna, a couple of her songs, Material Girl, never made it to number 1. Wonderwall by Oasis, popular, much, much loved in the UK and a perennial favorite. It popped up as a kind of unofficial anthem at the World Cup with English fans. Also, never got to number 1. So a song that you consider to be great, that never made it to number 1, start sharing with us yours, and we will play as many of them as we can. We'll make sure they are at least number 1 on 702 Drive. It's 5:15.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by OUTsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Secho Singo has the latest traffic news. Let's get it from him.
Yes, Ntate John, in Randpark Reach, there's an accident on the N1 on both directions at Bearsnodia, slowing down traffic. In Ethel Gardens, there's a crash on the M1 off-ramp to Grayston Drive, slowing down traffic. In Bedford View, there's an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic. Traffic lights are out in Sandton at Catherine and Grayston Drive. In Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive, in North Riding at the N1 South and Malibongwe Drive. In the capital city, Tshwane, Centurion, there is slow-moving traffic on the Old Johannesburg Road and Hendrik Verwoerd Road. Traffic lights are out in Groenkloof at the Fountain Circle and Nelson Mandela, in the CBD at Sophie de Bruyn and Jeff Masemola, as well as at Kgoshi Mampuru. As well, also at Pretoria West, Eskiam Pahlele and Flower. Rather, pointsmen are on duty in those areas. For any other traffic updates, please send it to 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Deciding to send that text without proofreading first may cost you some embarrassment, but deciding to stay with your current car insurance could be costing you thousands of rands in savings every year. With OUTsurance, 54-year-old Yaku saves an amazing 282 Rand a month on his 2025 Suzuki Swift. Switch to OUTsurance. You too could be one quote away from having more money in your pocket every single month. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insured FSP. TCs and information online.
Local government elections aren't about politics. They're about the roads you drive every day, the water you need, the electricity you rely on, the rates you pay, the services you deserve. You see, local government isn't somewhere else. It's your neighborhood, your street, your home. So in the run-up to the local government elections, 702, Cape Talk, and EWN will be where the issues that matter to you are put in the spotlight, where the tough questions are asked, where the crucial conversations begin, because this is more than local. It's personal. Follow every moment of the local government election on 702, Cape Talk, and EWN.co.za. Download the EWN app.
Vandalism and theft of water infrastructure affects everyone. Damage to pipes, meters, valves, reservoirs, and other critical infrastructure can result in water outages, low pressure, sewer spillages, and costly repairs that impact communities across Johannesburg. Johannesburg Water urges residents to help protect public infrastructure by reporting suspicious activity affecting the water network. To report incidents or water-related faults, call Johannesburg Water on 010 061 4470. That's 010 061 4470. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
Big game for Alan, balancing the day-to-day, looking after his family while still planning ahead. Good thing he's with FNB Private. Service suite backing him on and off the field 24/7. His banking advisor keeps the day-to-day moving. When the game needs strategy, his private advisor steps in. And when things get more complex, the right specialists come off the bench. Everyone in position.
Switch to FNB Private. FNB. Help changes everything. FNB is a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP. T's and C's apply. You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Let's look at public health. Let's look at South Africa's disease profile and the fact that diabetes is now the leading cause of death in South Africa, overtaking HIV and TB. This based on the latest mortality data from Stats SA. So what can we learn from this? What should we understand? And crucially, what should we as a country be trying to do? Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana is Chief Scientific Officer at the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation. Dr. Chandiwana, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time today. How should we understand this development? Some people might say, well, with HIV, it has become a manageable condition. I don't know if that's true of TB, but is diabetes surging in the way it is because of the overall numbers of that particular condition, or is it also a reflection of the progress we're making in dealing, for example, with HIV?
Oh, afternoon, John, and to your listeners. And this is a very interesting topic, and also one that's, I'm happy that we're having this in the limelight. So there are a few things to unpack with what you've said, right? Yes, it's true. Type 2 diabetes is now a leading cause of death in South Africa. But this did not come just suddenly. I think we're seeing this more in the media, but this has been a trend that we've been seeing in South Africa and all over the world, particularly a lot of African countries, for the last 2 decades. So right now, whilst it's a leading cause of death, that's roughly about 100 people per day.
Yes.
This has been, we're seeing this. It's just not because that, it's a couple of things, right? And I'm going to just give you broad strokes. One, people are living longer in South Africa. And this is primarily because we've done such a good job when it comes to HIV care that our life expectancy has generally gone up. And with aging, we have what we call non-communicable diseases, type 2 diabetes, diseases of aging, which include type 2 diabetes, hypertension, strokes, are just more common in aging populations. So that we interpret that through the lens of an aging population, not only in South Africa, but in other parts. But this is not just because people are living longer. I mean, look at the food environment. It's drive time now. People are going home. What are we driving past? What are the fast foods that we're seeing? What is the environment like? What is our food environment like? So there are a lot of things that drive type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And in South Africa, obesity being a big one.
So we had a call earlier because I was inviting listeners just to talk about their relationship to diseases, whether it's something they're dealing with or something they particularly fear. I think the first caller we had was somebody called Salomina who has diabetes but spoke about how she was managing it and all the things she was doing. Does the fact that this is now the leading cause of death also tell us something about the state of our public health system, perhaps where you have a condition that should be to a high degree manageable, but we're not putting either the resources, the public education, or the sustainability into looking after the people who now have diabetes? Is that a factor?
Yes, it is a contributing factor. A lot of our care should happen at a primary care level. and where we look at prevention of disease, not just managing disease. So all the people that we're seeing that are living with type 2 diabetes, right? How many people do we know? This is just a tip of the iceberg. So many people are living with undiagnosed diabetes. Like
Right.
almost half of people with diabetes in South Africa don't know that they have it as yet. So we do not have reliable population data on who has it, where. So it's a systems failure, not just a clinical one, that just as a public health, particularly at primary care, things could be stronger.
I'm asking that partly, Dr. Chandiwana, because obviously the stuff around diet has got to do with where people live, how much money they have, the availability of not just money but time to prepare food in a particular way. Those have deep and incredibly stubborn socioeconomic roots. But I would have thought the stuff that we could do better in our health system is doable. I mean, if you were to prioritize 2, 3, 4 things, what would those things be if we were to at least put a brake on the surge in diabetes and its consequences?
So what I would suggest, and this is data, we've got a national strategy that's there, but we do need to implement it better, is looking at unhealthy food environments,
Right.
looking at dealing with obesity and inactivity, as well as screening, and also to improve treatment for those that are already living with type 2 diabetes. It takes too long for you to get a diagnosis, and when you do get a diagnosis, you're probably not getting the best drugs that are available. But what makes it also a little bit more complicated is that all this treatment is just not in the healthcare sector. So one is the sugar tax that I think we've all heard about, right, where there is making sure that sugary beverages are taxed. That needs to be higher. We've seen that in other countries such as Brazil and Mexico, that by
Yes.
increasing that tax, people consume sugary beverages less, and that on a population level can reduce type 2 diabetes. So it's also outside of the healthcare system that we have to look at.
And just finally, I mean, the way in which people who are treating and trying to manage their diabetes, my understanding is moved from the era of large needles to something that's much more easy to self-administer, but perhaps easier to store the medication in under circumstances where people don't always have access to refrigeration. Is the technology our friend in this regard?
So we have quite a lot of things in our toolbox, but access and cost remains a big issue in South
Right.
Africa and other countries such as ours, because we've got newer drugs such as GLPs. I mean, we hear them a lot in the media when it comes to obesity, but those drugs are primarily for the management of type 2 diabetes. And there are also some oral agents as well that are available. But what this is bringing to the fore of like type 2 diabetes being a significant cause of death and illness in South Africa is that non-communicable diseases are here. And as a country, if you think of South Africa, we think of HIV, and I'm an HIV physician myself, right?
Right.
But increasingly, I'm in this field because this is what we're seeing, is that with HIV, we had a blueprint, we had medications, we had pooled procurement, we had training, and we had drugs available and political commitment. We need to do the same for type 2 diabetes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nomathemba Chandiwana, joining us. She's Chief Scientific Officer at the Desmond Tutu Health Foundation. Do you work in public health, maybe at a clinic level? Maybe you're involved in research or possibly in hospitals? You may want to weigh in on this. What are you seeing? What do you make of this shift now with diabetes now the leading cause of death in South Africa, overtaking HIV and TB? Your thoughts, please, on 072 702 1702, 28 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis joins us now with an update on today's trade and a look ahead to the Money Show tonight. Good afternoon.
Afternoon to you, John. Yeah, very interesting to see the JSE today ending the day down, unfortunately, despite higher oil prices, largely because resource shares were down. So the ore share down 0.75%, 114,115 points. Resources down 3.13. Gold and platinum slightly down. Industrials down 0.06. Financials up 0.75% on the day. So Grindrod really recovering most of yesterday's losses. They're up 8% on the day. Truworths up 5.13%. A strong day for consumer shares, but Truworths also said their group retail sales were down 0.9% in the year to the end of June, partly due to the stronger rand-pound exchange rate. They have been under pressure as a result of that. But the story really, Standard Bank, their headline earnings, record headline earnings for the first half of the year, 10% higher than the same period last year. Really strong results when you consider the size of the institution, John, and how important that is. So I thought that was particularly interesting today. But consumers also doing nicely. The Foschini Group's up 4.35 and Mr. Price up 3.25. Woolworths up 2.28. One or two other results popping around. Rainbow Chicken saying their headline earnings per share up by around 120% compared to last year. Higher poultry prices. DRD Gold headline earnings up 90%. Higher gold prices, obviously, the main reason for that. Platinum shares down. Pan-African down 6.37. Implats, Northern, Valterra, all of them down by around 5%. Kumba down 3.5%, and Anglo Gold down 3.2% on the day. In the US, the main indices opening higher. Oil prices were slightly lower. Now, that was part of it. Sort of slightly soft producer price inflation too. The Dow Jones is down 0.06. The Nasdaq is up 0.82. The S&P 500 is up 0.62. The gold price at the moment is looking at, where are we gone? $4,370.51. Platinum, $1,727.25. Brent crude, $86.78. And then the rand to the dollar holding steady, 16.19. To the euro, 18.67. To the British pound, 21.85. On the Money Show this evening, we'll speak to the CEO at Standard Bank, Sim Chabalala, Barbara Creasy, the Transport Minister, making sure the Port of Cape Town does recover after what happened to our deciduous fruit growers last season. We'll talk about international oil prices and shipping, John. Looks like a lot of oil is going through the Strait of Hormuz, more than we thought. And then also, what's happening in our middle classes? Kranti Pai has written an important piece saying there are quite a few myths around how rich our middle classes are, and basically they aren't. And I think many people will find resonance with that. In an investment school this evening, quality investing versus value investing. What to look for, why you need both of them. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Great lineup on the Money Shows. Particularly looking forward to hearing about the Port of Cape Town as the deciduous fruit export season draws ever closer. Agribusiness, absolutely crucial to not only creating jobs, sustaining the jobs we have, and of course bringing in all that important forex into the country. That's on the Money Show at 6 o'clock. Right now it's 29 minutes to 6. We've spoken a great deal today about the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry into Police Corruption. There is, of course, Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating the same things, and Maki Molapo has details of important conversations there. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption allegations says it can't become a laughing stock by failing to make findings against those accused of wrongdoing. Committee chairperson Soviet Lekhanyane says where people have done wrong, they can't be allowed to get off scot-free because certain parties don't agree on the committee's powers. Lekhanyane raised the matter today as the committee reconvened to continue deliberations on its fourth draft report. Babalo Ndenza has more.
The DA has written to the committee to remind members that Parliament can't make findings on hearsay evidence and conjecture. DA Chief Whip Glenys Breitenbach wrote that members of the committee must be careful not to go beyond the committee's mandate and deciding on the guilt of those implicated. But Committee Chairperson Soviet Lekhanyane says the committee's report must be clear when dealing with wrongdoing.
This committee cannot become a laughingstock. This committee cannot become a joke. Where wrongs have been made or committed, the committee must come out very clearly and unambiguously and say there was a wrong here.
National Assembly Speaker Tokoti Diza last week took a decision to revive the committee's lifespan, granting a fifth deadline extension to the 11th of September as MPs struggled to finalize the draft report. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The state maintains its trial ready for two high-profile cases being heard at the Durban High Court today. 7 suspects linked to the murder of rapper Keenan aka Forbes and his friend Tebello Tibbs Motswane appeared in court for finalization of pre-trial matters. The trial has been set down for 2 phases from the 5th of October to the 6th of November, barring Election Day, and from the 12th of April to the 14th of May next year. State Prosecutor Advocate Lawrence Gaba.
Only outstanding issue was the disclosure of the outstanding statements. We may then, my lady, confirm that the matter is trial ready to kick off on the 5th.
Meanwhile, former Umkhonto weSizwe Party member Duduzile Zuma Sambudla made a brief appearance at the same court on a separate matter. The former president's daughter is accused of inciting terrorism and public violence via her social media posts during the July 2021 unrest in the aftermath of President Jacob Zuma's incarceration. Her case was postponed for a holding trial date next month. National Prosecuting Authority spokesperson Natasha Ramkinson-Kara.
Or during the pre-trial conference today, the matter was adjourned for further trial dates. Those trial dates are the 26th of October till early November.
And in Greece, authorities in Athens have stepped up fumigation as the country's State Health Administration reported an increase in West Nile virus infections. The infections have claimed 9 lives so far, with a further 45 new cases of the mosquito-borne virus recorded over the past week. The number of total infections now sits at 110 from the beginning of the year. Out of these, 81 developed severe complications to the central nervous system, and 9 persons over the age of 65 have died. The virus can cause symptoms similar to those of the flu, but in extreme cases, it can result in tremors, fever, comas, and a lethal swelling of the brain tissue. It can also cause meningitis. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng. Tomorrow, temperatures will drop to overnight lows between 3 and 5 degrees and peak at highs of 16 and 17 degrees.
In Kramerville, there is a crash on Marlborough Drive from Bowling Avenue to the M1 on-ramp, causing traffic. In Rand Park Reach, there is an accident on the N1 on both directions at Bears Nodia, slowing down traffic.
The top story in Eyewitness News. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption allegations says it can't become a laughing stock by failing to make findings against those accused of wrongdoing.
Take a ride back to the greatest decades in music.
Because Saturdays on 702
are all about timeless tunes.
At 10 a.m.
Kenny Maestri sets the stage with the greatest hits of the 80s
and 90s. At 2 p.m., Pushaza Sibia keeps the nostalgia flowing
with more classics you can't help but sing along to.
Then at 5 p.m., Richard Mwamba
celebrates the sounds of the continent
with This Is Africa.
It's more than just music.
It's your Saturday wrapped in the sounds you love.
Only on 702.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yo, nothing humbles you like a cold shower.
Happens fast, eh? 1 minute you're living your best life.
Next minute you're questioning everything.
Fair. Here's a quick tip. If your geezer's acting up, don't wait for disaster. Small fixes now save big problems later.
And remember, if you buy cheap, you will shower in the lounge.
We've got loads more tips where that came from.
Quickart, #1 in water heating solutions. Quickart,
add warmth to life.
That's Sia before he got naked. Sia had a bumper bash and had to reattach his fender using duct tape and a prayer. So Sia got naked. He got comprehensive car insurance in seconds and can now submit claims instantly on the Naked app. No more arts and crafts for you, Sia. Cover your car and home now at naked.insure and see how easy insurance can be when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. This is old news. For the last, I think about 7 years, diabetes has been the #1 killer in South Africa. So if you take all the deaths from HIV, TB, and road deaths, you put it together, the last 7 years, diabetes has trumped it. So this is not new news. The government's been delayed. I remember being at Barra and asking for bigger department to manage diabetes, and it just fell on deaf ears. Thank you.
Hi, good day, John, and 702. The tow truck industry has always been known to be part of the drug trade. Well, at least in the El Dorado Park. If you're familiar with Farouk, he also died a few years ago. He was shot and killed. This was how drugs was moved. This shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. This is how they move drugs. The police know it. They just look the other way. Great show.
Yeah, thank you. Both of those calls, just putting some perspective from, a real ground level view of two particular problems. First one of those from somebody who worked in the health system, and somebody else connected to a community where drugs and the dealing of drugs is a huge problem. So thank you. And just to add one more, somebody actually dealing with diabetes. Raymond says, I'm in my 11th year now. I practically live on water, chicken and bread only. I regularly run 18 kilometers, but still, I have come close to death 3 times already. Good luck with that journey, Raymond. It sounds like a hard road, and we wish you well on it. It's 21 minutes to 6.
EWN Sport.
Rugby, football, both here and abroad. Lots going on in the world of sport. Tolakele Mganga has an eye on all of it. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. And Banyana's complicated path to the 2027 FIFA World Cup starts tonight. That's where they must beat Nigeria to stand any chance of being in Brazil next year. The winner advances to the preliminary round of the Interconfederation playoffs, which features 6 teams. And coach Desiree Ellis says they can't afford any more slip-ups, having missed out on a semi-final spot that would have sealed automatic qualification.
Look, it's not the place we want to be, but we've been given another opportunity, a very big opportunity. We obviously have to bring our A game. There's no margin for error. The disappointment of losing the previous game is going to probably drive us to get a positive result. It's not going to be an easy game. The 2 big guns of African football.
Fernando de Cruz believes that the Betway Premiership clash between Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns on Saturday is scheduled too early in the season. The Glamour Boys go into the encounter top of the table, having secured back-to-back league wins, but the coach is frustrated by his side having 1 day less to prepare for the clash.
He says that he is a little bit disappointing because this match for him is too early in the season, first things. And the second thing, he says that we are the only team in PSL who will play 3 games in 6 days. The other team will play three games in 7 days. So we have 1 less day of recovery. But it's not a problem, it's not excuses. This game we'll play because we know for the moment that it's like that and we can change nothing.
And Cody Taylor's back from a calf injury and will captain the All Blacks against the Bulls in their 3rd term match of rugby's greatest rivalry series at Loftus Versfeld on Saturday. Taylor will be playing his 110th match for New Zealand, while fly half Richie Mwanga has not been selected as he only arrives in South Africa on Friday. For the Bulls, they've named Cohen Bosch at fly half as Johan Ackerman names his strongest available side for that clash, which he admits falls at an inopportune time in his preseason preparations.
We still wanted to be in our conditioning phase and building up our skill set and only be in a match conditioning at the starting of September. But now we are where we are and now we just have to deal with it. And in the sense that we're going to, after this game, the guys is going to get a week off. And when they come back, we've got about 4 weeks before this first URC game. We'll just use that as a building phase again. So in a sense, we don't have to start all the way back, but we still lost 2-3 weeks where we could have done more basic work before we went straight into rugby.
Tolakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
In Kramerville, there is a crash on Marlborough Drive from Bowling Avenue to the M1 on-ramp causing traffic. In Rand Park Ridge, there is an accident on the N1 on both directions at Bears Nodia, slowing down traffic. And in Ethel Gardens, there is also a crash on the M1 off-ramp to Greyston Drive, slowing down traffic. Bedford View, there is an accident on the N12 East after the Gilulis interchange, slowing down traffic. And traffic lights are out in Sandton and Catherine and Greyston Drive. in Woodmead at the M1 South and Woodmead Drive, in North Riding at the N1 South and Malibongwe Drive. In the capital cities, Tshwane near Centurion, there is slowing moving traffic on the Old Johannesburg Road and Hendrik Verwoerd Road. Traffic lights are out in Groenkloof at the Fountain Circle and Nelson Mandela. In the CBD at Sophie de Bruyn and Jeff Masemola, as well as Hoshi Mampuru. Pretoria West, Eskiam Pahlele and Flower. Pointsmen on duty in those areas. For any other traffic updates, head over to our WhatsApp line on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, when we hear a great song and we know it's a hugely popular song and you can't go anywhere without hearing people play it on their car stereos as they drive past with the windows open. Obviously not on the last couple of days here in Gauteng and elsewhere in the country. But, people refer to these things as, sure, that was a number one hit, except some really, really great songs have never, ever made it to number one. And great artists, while they have picked up Grammys, so many of them that they would need extra trophy cabinets or possibly even an extra room to store them all, have, some of them, never, ever had number one hits. One of those is Bruce Springsteen. The very closest he got to was this one, which he, in an interview I heard him giving once on television, rated as one of his best songs. A great song, but not good enough for number one.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Born to Run, listen to this. I thought it got to number 2. It actually on the US Billboard Hot 100. The song got to number 23. That was the highest it reached in Ireland. Well, they didn't think much of that one. And never mind the fact that over many, many years, Irish concerts of Bruce Springsteen would be packed. It reached number 81. The best performance that I can see was Belgium, where it reached, outside of the US, that is, where it reached number 29. So there you go. There you go. So your songs, great songs, that just somehow never made it to number one. Not that that is the only measure of a song, but it's interesting to see what the charts say and what the hearts say. Give us your songs, please, on 072 702 1702. It's 14 minutes now to 6.
Local government elections aren't about politics. They're about the roads you drive every day, the water you need, the electricity you rely on, the rates you pay, the services you deserve. You see, local government isn't somewhere else. It's your neighborhood, your street, your home. So in the run-up to the local government elections, 702, Cape Talk, and EWN will be where the issues that matter to you are put in the spotlight, where the tough questions are asked, where the crucial conversations begin. Because this is more than local. It's personal. Follow every moment of the local government election on 702, Cape Talk, and EWN.co.za. Download the EWN app.
Nothing is better than when the plans leave the group chat. Just like going on a girls' trip and finding more irresistible hidden gems.
Hello, ladies. Your rooms have been upgraded.
Enjoy more getaways in the Haval Jolian City with sleek design and spacious comfort from only $4,999 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. GWM, go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Peregrine Capital presents Brian Habana's Count to 100.
In my journey to 100, it started with my first cap, then my second, 10th, 50th, 90th, 99th.
Brian Habana, his 100th international test. You get to 100 one decision at a time. For 28 years, Peregrine Capital has applied that same discipline to turn 1 million rand into 100 million. Peregrine Capital. Invest in performance. An authorized FSP. Past performance non-indicative of future performance. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
You Are Divine by Unati. That song was on the 2003 Gazalam CD. And if I'm not mistaken, it's also Pushaza's favorite song of Unati as well. And that song was a hit, but it was never really recognized for what it was. I think if it was on a separate Unati CD, most people would have known it.
Songs that were great but didn't get the recognition they deserve, and in particular didn't get all the way to number one. Tabang shares this. Robbie Robertson's Fallen Angel is one of those songs that never reached the number one slot. In my opinion, Tabang says it should have. Let's listen. Make up your own mind.
Just written in the sand. Sometimes I thought you felt too much, and you crossed into the shadowland, and the river was overflowed.
Robbie Robinson, his first solo album after he left the band, much celebrated Canadian group. And if you saw the movie The Last Waltz, you'll know why. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. Terrific rock music movie. Now, Thriller, the album by Michael Jackson, was in the number one spot for how many weeks do you think? Think a lot, and then double that, and then double it again. 37 weeks. Thriller, the album, was at the top, but Thriller, the song, only ever got to number 4. Take a listen.
Under the moonlight, you see us like that all
So, who is keeping Thriller by Michael Jackson out of the number one slot? Well, the answer, by and large, was Michael Jackson, because 7 of the tracks from the album actually made it into the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. 7 minutes now to 6 o'clock.
Hi, John. My song would be Zion by Lauryn Hill, taken off the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill album. And it's Zion featuring Carlos Santana. Shivers here in Boxburg.
Zion. Unsure what the balance held, I touched my belly, overwhelmed by what I had been chosen to perform. But then an angel came one day, told me to kneel down and pray, for unto me a man child would be born. Whoa, this crazy circumstance, I knew his life deserved a chance, but everybody told me to be smart. Look at your career, they say.
Yeah, the gap between our hearts and the charts, and who's to say what's right. That's a lovely track from the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill, with a whole range of artists contributing, including the celebrated guitarist Carlos Santana. Top position on the US Billboard charts, number 77. Doesn't make it mean it's not a great track in someone's minds, but the charts are one thing, and I guess the way in which people remember and love and listen to and keep bringing back certain songs. Let's go way, way back. This is a song that has been a classic over many, many years. Let's take a listen to Ben E. King.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me.
Yeah, this has been going on for decades. Benny King, Stand By Me. Now, when I said it never made it to number one, I'm referring to his home country in the United States, Billboard Hot 100. Top position achieved was number 9. But in the UK, in the official charts, it actually did go to number 1. And I was talking about Ireland a little bit earlier. Went to number 1 in Ireland as well, and in Canada. But I guess often these things are rated as to what kind of waves they made in the United States. Great songs that never made it to number 1. Let's make them number 1 now.
Good afternoon, John. Great show as always. A song that I think deserved to be on top of the charts for a couple of weeks, if not months, is a song by Bruce Hornsby and the Range, and it's called Mandolin Rain. What a great song. What great musicianship. Never got its due. It's a great pity, really. Thanks for the show, John, Lebo, Rand Parkridge.
Like the times that we spent hiding out from the rain under the carnival tent. Laughed and she'd smile, it would last for a while.
Mandolin Rain, Bruce Hornsby, off his album The Way It Is. It was actually his debut album Actually, it got a little bit more acclaim than you were saying in that voice note. Went to number 1 in Canada on the adult contemporary charts. In the UK, it got all the way to number 70, but did well in the US. You know, the main chart, the Billboard Hot 100. I hope I'm not mangling my understanding of these charts. That was number 4. The mainstream rock chart went to number 2. And on adult contemporary, actually, Mandolin Rain did hit the number 1 spot. But that, of course, may well be, it doesn't change a sense that people have that a song didn't quite get the credit it should. One more voice note.
Good afternoon, Uncle John. Sia from Katlehong. I believe a song that should have went to number 1 in the Billboard was Mnigi by Tyler ICU and Maphorisa. It deserved it.
Tyler ICU with that. One more that's in the lists that get compiled about songs that should have gone to number 1. This one is pretty prominent, actually.
Just a small town girl.
Yeah, Journey classic, Don't Stop Believin', made it all the way to number 9, but never quite went beyond that. Hope you've enjoyed being with us on 702 Drive. Just to say, I'm going to take a couple of days off, heading into the bush to see if I can find some animals, and hopefully they'll stick around long enough for me to look at them. Normally I like to sit in one spot for at least an hour, but that's not always possible. But yeah, it's been a great show over today. Lovely having your company. I'm John Perlman. Have yourselves a fabulous Thursday night. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking, turning intent into execution. That's how ABSA are invested in Africa's energy future. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, Standard Bank shoots the lights out, earning 26 billion rand, and says they're spending some of that on using AI. The Transport Minister Barbara Creasy explains how the Port of Cape Town won't fail our fruit producers again, how oil is being smuggled through the Strait of Hormuz, while the odds are still stacked against our middle classes, and how they'll never be able to amass enough wealth. And in Investment School tonight, we unpick the great debate between quality investing and value investing. All of that to come, but first, the very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Sibs Matiela. The Madlanga Commission has heard that slain KZN tow truck operator Bevan Loftus with the notorious Hollywood gang in Durban. The Commission today heard evidence about the 2023 murder of Loftus, who was killed during what police described as a legitimate police operation. However, his father, Gregory Loftus, alleges that KZN CIT Task Team Commander Dina Govender was paid 2.5 million rand to have his son killed. The Commission has been looking into links between